All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Spoken Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 344 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be with us. Whether you're live streaming, podcasting, or YouTubing, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time as we have a loaded show for you guys tonight. We're going to get to it as much as possible, as much information and content as we possibly can tonight, guys. It is going to be a snowpocalypse out here in Kansas City. I don't know where you guys are watching or where you're listening, but in Kansas City, we're about to get pummeled. So strap in, get ready, guys, because we have a filled show for you guys this weekend. We got actually a lot of sports this weekend. Obviously, we're going to give you guys our NFL conference championship predictions. There's a lot of UFC fights going on this week. A great card, by the way. If you're a UFC follower and consumer, this is going to be a great weekend for you. It's going to be a great weekend for Trevor and I because we are, I would say, adequate consumers of the UFC, so we're really stoked about that. So if you guys want to talk about that a little bit, we can definitely do that. We have a great guest for you guys tonight. Our guy, 𝚂𝙿𝙸 𝙴𝙽, and I apologize. I've been practicing, so if I butchered, I apologize. My boy 𝚂𝙿𝙸 knows that I mean well, but I'm an idiot, so it's going to be one of those things. But our guy 𝚂𝙿𝙸 is going to be with us tonight. We are officially breaking ground. He's going to officially be with our show for the first time ever. He's already been in front of the show. He's a great guy, a guy that I've gotten to know over the last couple of months. You guys obviously know him. He's a big-time content creator out there in the Chiefs community. We're really excited to have him. He's going to be here in less than an hour, so I hope you guys are ready for his thoughts because I think him and I are going to have some differing opinions on some of these things that are happening in the world of sports, in particular when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. We know there's a lot going on. We're going to talk about that just in a minute. But if you guys haven't done it already, I tell you at the top and I tell you at the bottom of every single show, we would love it if you guys would join us on YouTube. So if you guys would be so kind, go to YouTube, hit us up at the Spoken Podcast, hit subscribe, hit notify, hit share, hit like, hit all the cool stuff they give you guys at YouTube for you to do. But the one we want you to hit the most is the comment button because this is a show where we want you to be a part of it. I know there's a lot of shows out there that do it where they want you to hear their opinion. That's totally fine. We want you to hear ours as well here, but we want you to have a valid opinion on this show as well. We want you to feel like your opinion matters because that literally does. It is the lifeblood of what we do here at The Spoken is a community-driven show. We don't want to talk at you. We want to talk with you. So if you are one of those that want to share your opinion, obviously we want that. We value that very much, and we even value it so much that we dedicate an entire segment of the show to you in the middle of the show called Speak It, where any question, comment, take, concern, whatever you guys have for us, drop it in the chat. We'll get it on the screen. We'll talk about it. We'll react to it. That is what we're all about here, guys. We want to make sure you feel welcome. If you're somebody who wants to sit back and just enjoy the show, by all means, do that. Have fun. Do whatever you guys want to do. We're just grateful you guys want to come and hang out with us, man. So we thank you guys so much for tuning live or tuning in whenever you guys get to it. We very much appreciate it. Trev, how the hell are you doing, man?
Doing good, bro. It's like you said, preparing for this possible nationwide snowstorm, basically. But yeah, man, ready to watch some good football, hopefully. And obviously, I'm almost damn near equally as stoked for the UFC card tomorrow night. My boy Sean O'Malley's getting back out there. I need to see another knockout. This would be a good matchup. My boy 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺 and Justin Gaethje. It's just a stacked card, bro. So I'm stoked for that one. But yeah, overall, bro, ready. It's been a slow week just because the weather's been pretty gnarly, been cold. Volleyball games are canceled tomorrow, so we're all just hunkered down and preparing for the snow possibly. Other than that, bro, ready to talk some ball, baby.
Let's do it, man. We're not going to waste any more of your guys' time. We know why you're here. You know why we're here. So without further ado, it is time for Lance Rants. Couple of things became official this week. The only way I can really put it is the only way that there is to put it. The scapegoat is officially gone. Matt Nagy, former Chiefs, now former Chiefs offensive coordinator, or as I call him, offensive conduits, is officially out of town. Matt Nagy is on to greener pastures, or at least we hope that for him, for his own individual career. We wish him nothing but the best. Matt Nagy is no longer a part or a member of the Kansas City Chiefs coaching staff. We don't know where he's going to land. There are still a ton of vacant spots. Notably, the Eagles' offensive coordinator position is still available. We know the Ravens' offensive coordinator position is still available. There are several spots that are still out there for Matt Nagy to take, and I fully anticipate he's going to land on his feet. He's going to get an opportunity to show what he can do as an actual play caller. We know that he had a lot of success in Chicago as a head coach, went to the playoffs twice with Mitchell Trubisky, and is a very knowledgeable mind. So I say all that to say that the scapegoat is officially gone. And I say scapegoat because that's exactly what Matt Nagy has been here in Kansas City for the better part of 3 years, which is funny because 2 of the last 3 seasons, the Chiefs have had amazing success, a continued success with going to 3 consecutive Super Bowls, and Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator of 2 of those. And that's not going to matter, though, because we know what Matt Nagy is going to be remembered for in Kansas City. The problems in Kansas City. I'm going to get to that in a second because there's also more news, more confirmations that took place this week. If we put that on the screen, Trevor, the return of one Eric Bieniemy. It is official. This is the NFL tweet right here. Chiefs agree to terms to bring back Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator via Tom Pelissero. So this is an official thing. This is no longer speculation. This is no longer a fan conversation, a fan theory, or rumors or speculation, anything of that sort. It is now official. The Chiefs did bring back Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy to return to his position that he had from 2018 to 2022. I'm not going to spend a lot of time tonight discussing and dissecting this decision or what Eric Bieniemy is or isn't as an offensive coordinator, or now when he's back in Kansas City, an official offensive conduit, as I call them. But I want to briefly discuss something real quick. There's an insanely misleading and, to be honest with you guys, a very stupid graph that's been thrown around there all over the internet that I have to address before we get into any of this that I actually want to discuss. I have to do this real quick. If we could put up, Trevor, that Eric Bieniemy versus Matt Nagy graph. This is the thing that I'm getting every single time I've posted anything on Twitter or Facebook. I've gotten this in the comments, in the mentions every single time. And this is on the screen now. They're showing you guys the difference between Patrick Mahomes' productivity with Eric Bieniemy as opposed to Matt Nagy. The reason why this graphic is so damn stupid is because it throws away any and all context. Now, I know that to a lot of people out there, there are a lot of casual fans out there. So they'll look at the box scores, they'll look at the stat columns and just say, oh, Patrick Mahomes was clearly a better quarterback with Eric Bieniemy than he was with Matt Nagy. Throwing away, just some facts. Like, I don't know, Trevor, the fact that from 2018 to 2022, when Eric Bieniemy was the Chiefs' offensive coordinator before, offensive conduit, I should say, from 2018 to 2021, Eric Bieniemy had not only prime Travis Kelce, but prime Tyreek Hill. To me, I don't know if there's ever been a better duo between a tight end and wide receiver than what the Chiefs had in that span. Based on talent, productivity, you name it. I don't know if there's a better duo in the history of this league from a tight end wide receiver duo. Yeah. But I'll put that aside. Let's also look at the fact that from 2018 to 2020, he also had Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz as his left and right tackles. Those were 2 of the best players at their position during that time. That is not in any way, shape, or form what's been experienced here over the last couple of seasons at the tackle positions. There's also the fact that the Chiefs were a team that were on the rise. The league had not adjusted anywhere near to what the Chiefs were becoming. We knew in 2018 when Patrick Mahomes took over that the league had no idea what the hell to do. They didn't know what kind of defensive schemes to counter him with. They didn't know what the hell this guy was. He was a freak of nature unlike anything we'd ever seen before. Oh, and by the way, Andy Reid was calling the plays at that time, and he was scheming up an offense, like I said, that was the modernized version of the West Coast offense. Like I said, when Bill Walsh introduced that with the Joe Montana era, the league took several years to catch up to it. Meanwhile, Matt Nagy had an offense that dealt with a myriad of injuries to all the skill position players. Rashee Rice, who was the number 1 receiver on this team since 2023, either was injured for entire seasons, suspended for large portions of the season, or the Chiefs' offense just got simply figured out. But somehow, this kind of graphic seems to matter to people and seems to be the end-all, be-all. And I'm here to just simply push back on it and say that in these types of situations with these kind of comparisons, context doesn't just matter, it's everything. Because Eric Bieniemy did not have the challenges nowhere near to the effect that Matt Nagy had to take on when he became the Chiefs OC for the second time.
Facts.
But I just wanted to throw that out there, and that's not the point I really want to make. I just had to address it because I know a lot of you are probably waiting to throw this little meme, this little graphic my way whenever these discussions are going to come up. And trust me when I say I'm not backing down from my point of view on this. I'm not backing down from where I stand on this. I do not agree at all with the Eric Bieniemy re-signing. At all. It is not a knock on Eric Bieniemy, even though I have my issues and concerns about him as a person. Maybe not as a person per se. That might be a little unfair. I've heard actual stories and testimonies from former players that know him that have outwardly called him an asshole on my shows. But that's not my story to tell.
Yep.
What I'm going to address is the fact that this guy's career went nowhere after he left Kansas City. And if he's such a coveted asset, if he's a guy that's supposed to come in here with new ideas and going to help revolutionize this offense and save the Chiefs, why wasn't he a coveted asset anywhere else? Because I would beg to say that if he was a free agent or per se right now, I would like to imagine that there's no other team out there that would hire him as the offensive coordinator. But see, that's the segue to my actual problem with this team moving forward. I'm here to tell you all tonight that when it comes to Andy Reid, I'm losing faith. And I never thought I would be sitting here telling you guys that. But as I was on a Skin in the Game this last week, on last Tuesday, with our guy Austin Thompson, great guest, great guy. I said that this was something that I never thought was going to come about, that I was never going to be in this position to say this about Andy Reid, who I'm so thankful for what he's done for this team over the better part of almost a decade and a half now. He saved this franchise. But I am concerned about things, and I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain to you guys in a second, because he's the one I want to focus my attention on tonight. Because you guys all know, again, where I stand on EB returning and how I don't believe his return is the right choice for the Chiefs offense moving forward. I want to talk about the guy that has 51% of the vote, as he likes to coin. Mm-hmm. Eric Bieniemy isn't the problem. Andy Reid's mentality and why he brought Eric Bieniemy back, that's the problem. The NFL is consistently evolving, and the league as a whole has dedicated their off seasons to match up and catch up to the Chiefs. I don't know if you guys noticed in 2025, but the league caught up, which means real change and new ideas is necessary for the Chiefs in order to get back to being that team everyone else is looking to take down. The Chiefs did not do that this week, and we have no reason to believe they will at all this offseason. You know, following this disappointing season in franchise history, I think the most disappointing season in franchise history, I think also probably the most disappointing season in NFL history, given what the Chiefs' expectations were going into 2025. In an offseason that Andy Reid needed to make uncomfortable and adequate changes, he decides to go backwards. We can put this graphic up here. Our guys, we love them dearly. The Williams brothers over at All Chiefed Up, they responded to one of my tweets. I wanted to put their tweet up to give fair context to the conversation. This is from All Chiefed Up. They said, when you as a franchise and fan base come to the conclusion that Andy Reid shouldn't be fired for one bad season and deserves another year, this is what you essentially signed up for. To think Andy Reid would change his stripes 3 years before he retires was insanity logic. Fair points. But see, here's where my pushback is, and I sent this to them. See, I signed up, when we're talking about signing up for things, I signed up for the best head coach in the NFL to do what is necessary to keep his team in the best position to win. Instead, what he's done is go with an option that does not do that. Could it work? Could the Chiefs get back and do what they've done in the past? Sure. Absolutely. It could happen. But we all saw how badly this offense needed directional change, and that change isn't coming because of Andy's choices. And that's why I'm upset. He's gotten in his own way for no reason other than pure stubbornness. Well, Lance, who is out there that would have been a better candidate for the Chiefs OC position than EB? You really want an unproven name to take over the job? I'm glad you asked that, by the way. Real quick, Trevor, does anybody remember the Lions tight end coach in 2019? Oh, that was Ben Johnson. What about the Browns quarterback coach in 2015? That was Kevin O'Connell. Anyone remember who the Rams assistant wide receiver coach was in 2018? Oh, that was Liam Cohen. Anyone remember the 49ers defensive quality control coach in 2017? That was D'Amico Ryans. Or what about the Texans linebacker coach in 2014? That'd be Mike Vrabel. Anyone remember the Commanders tight ends coach in 2011? That was Sean McVay. Anyone remember the Packers assistant offensive line and tight ends coach in 1992? You guessed it. Andy Reid. These are not only 7 current NFL head coaches. These are 7 of the best current NFL head coaches. All of these coaches were risks in their own regard. So please, I beg you, spare me the nonsense that there's no one out there that could have come in and been exactly what this Chiefs offense clearly needed from their OC position. Because if we look at just this list of names named above, there's a better chance there are a number of future head coaches out there waiting for their chance to prove that they can adequately do the job that will inevitably get them there. For the Chiefs to go backwards to their old OC that's gone nowhere but backwards in his own career is beyond frustrating and, quite frankly, unacceptable. Andy Reid's unwillingness to relinquish play-calling duties not only cost the Chiefs a real chance of landing a real difference-maker at OC, it created an opportunity for their division to add one of the real difference-making OCs in Mike McDaniel. Backwards. Andy Reid is telling us, without telling us, that he doesn't want a young, up-and-coming OC to take the spotlight in his offense. He had no issue, none, firing Bob Sutton and bringing in a top-tier DC and Spags to replace him because he in no way threatens Andy's job. This, ironically, creates a potential issue for Andy as well, because if the offense doesn't improve in 2026 and the Chiefs have similar results they had in 2025, the same fan base who is celebrating the return of EB won't have a Matt Nagy to blame anymore. It will officially and rightfully fall at the feet of no one else but Andy Reid. And he will be the one the fans will begin to turn on. I sure hope he's right. I sure hope he's right about the decision he's made. Because the conversation was never EB versus Nagy. The conversation has always been Andy Reid versus Andy Reid. Do you know what created and maintained the Chiefs' 7-year dynastic run? Uncomfortable and unpopular decisions. Chasing Andy Reid down once the Eagles fired him. Firing John Dorsey. Trading up 17 spots to draft Patrick Mahomes. Trading multiple first-round picks to land veterans like Frank Clark and Orlando Brown Jr. Firing Bob Sutton. And trading Tyreek Hill. These decisions were not easy to make, and most of them, outside of firing Bob Sutton, of course, were not, at least initially, popular amongst a lot of Chiefs fans. But they were decisions that were necessary. The Chiefs are coming off the worst season imaginable in the middle of the greatest run a football team has ever had in a 7-year span. So you would assume that everyone would be on board with making more of these types of decisions. Instead, we're seeing nothing but comfortable and popular decisions being made and suggested so far this season, and that worries me greatly. The Patriots were in Super Bowl contention for the better part of 2 decades because they weren't afraid of making uncomfortable and unpopular decisions because they understood that it was a necessary mentality to stay ahead of a league dedicated in tracking them down. If the Chiefs plan on winning more Super Bowls in the Mahomes era, comfortable and popular decisions can't be the decisions they go with. But as always, I'm hoping and I'm hopeful for the best, and I genuinely hope this works out. But the Chiefs, especially the Chiefs offense, did not get better this week. And that's where I'm going to leave my thoughts, Trevor. What are yours, man?
Yeah, I mean, we're here, you know. This is it is what it is. We're alluding to that this is a highly likely scenario since they weren't taking any interviews or even entertaining the thought of bringing any other interviews in, the more and more that lingered. And as soon as the Bears were knocked out, we got the news that they were going to interview him. We were like, it was pretty much the writing on the wall was there. And we're here, you know. I'm not happy about it. I obviously wanted those, those tough decisions and those uncomfortable things to continue. And this being one of those, decisions moving forward, to bring somebody else in and maybe bring in some new bright ideas and maybe some possible slight change to what's been going on here.
Yeah.
But it's likely going to be more of the same. And that's what's unfortunate to me. I feel like, especially in this game, you kind of have to be water in a way. You have to kind of maneuver yourself and constantly adjust because this league will catch up to you. And it's kind of, I do think, our boys over there all cheaped up. I think they are correct. It just sucks that they're correct to a degree because that logic is what got Andy Reid out of Philadelphia.
Right.
Right. He's happened to have great success here in Kansas City because I think he happened to find, the greatest quarterback of all time. There's some good luck there because let's be very honest. None of this really started happening until Pat took over. We were a good team with Alex Smith. But I don't think Andy Reid would have ever won a Super Bowl with a quarterback like Alex Smith. That was never going to happen. And I think we can convince ourselves at times that we had a chance, but we all kind of knew we were very limited until we stumbled across the most unique talent we think we've ever seen at that position. So there is that. That is a big part to why we've been so great and on this great run. But now when you're not leaning in and appealing to or kind of pandering to him and what may be beneficial for him, we're still kind of pandering to the head coach's decision what's best for him. And if we were to poll the fans, what was it that really put I hate to say it, what was it that really put this team over the edge to create this dynasty? I know they both play their part, but was it Patrick Mahomes that had more at play here, an influence to these wins, these Super Bowl rings, or was it Andy Reid? I'm on the Patrick Mahomes side, maybe by a few percentage points. Just being honest. Maybe more than a few, if I'm also being really honest. So pandering to the coach, no offense, love Andy Reid, and I'm ride or die with him, and we are here. I hope Eric Bieniemy is going to ball out here and bring something maybe he's learned along the way, being outside, bringing some new things than he's learned. Whatever that may be, I'm going to support him because he's back here, and I hope he does nothing but flourish on his time and his return here. This is a letdown, man. Like I think any logical fan, this is like, yeah, this is true. This is what Andy Reid does. But we don't have to like it. I don't like this. This isn't exciting at all. I know some people may be excited because they look at the box score like you showed, but that anybody who actually watches the game and analyzes it and knows like beyond the X's and O's of how this business works, you can't keep doing more of the same.
Right.
That even as great as the Patriots run was, they had a 10-year lull. They had to change a lot of things along the way. There was 10 years they didn't win a Super Bowl, guys.
Right.
Do you guys want to experience that? I don't.
Right.
So there was a lot of, knuckleheaded things and hard-headed things going on over in New England when that was going on. I don't want a 10-year break. We can't afford that. Patrick will be done. He'll be out of this league by then. Right? So, I mean, most likely anyways. So I'm all about change. I'm all about being uncomfortable, making uncomfortable, things that are less predictable. Stop leaning into the familiar and our comfort zone. But that's just exactly what happened here. I do not think Eric Bieniemy is anything special, in my personal opinion. He may bring some kind of edge to the locker room. Some people like that. I don't really have a true feeling on that. I'm not there, so I can't really give my true. I've heard good and bad, whatever. What can you bring to the field, and what can you improve the product that we just experienced this last season, which was an absolute unacceptable season? Obviously, ending in Patrick Mahomes' worst injury of his career so far, to top it off. So I was hoping we'd bring in something new, something, fresh that could raise the spirits and give maybe some new life to something that we haven't experienced yet or tried out yet. But now we're bringing, some old soil to put on top of the garden that's already kind of come and pass, It is what it is. From the way I'm looking at it, man, I'm not happy about it. This isn't pleasing to me and what my wants and needs are, but my wants and needs clearly do not matter here or hold weight. best I could do is embrace Eric Bieniemy being back here, and hope that he can get his shit together and help this offense be better. And, you know, I'm really hoping I can be proven wrong. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Absolutely.
We both don't feel happy about this, but I want to be wrong here because I have to endure however much longer he's going to be here now. So, you know what? I hope we're wrong. I hope the box score thing is absolutely correct.
Yes.
I hope he comes back here and the numbers reflect that. I want that to happen. I would gladly be wrong if that means the success of this team.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at. I'm not happy about this. I don't feel like he's going to be that big of a needle mover because I don't think he has the toolage that he had before when he was here. So I think there is some exposed things that might come across. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope he doesn't get exposed in the negative sense. I hope it's the positive sense and even further. More than anything, I hope the best for Pat's health moving forward this next season. But I'm riding with EB, man. I have no choice.
And the point I want to make, because you nailed it right there, where you said that we say these things not in the hopes of being right. Yeah. Like I genuinely want to be wrong. But see, the point I've been trying to make sure, because we all get caught up in these arguments about who the better offensive coordinator is for this team, but that's not my whole point. It's not about, because that's what I'm saying. It's not about EB versus Nagy. That's why I hate the stupid fucking graphic that's been put out there.
Yeah.
Because that's so nonsensical. Because once again, guys,
lazy,
just to put it in plain English again, these guys do not call the plays, so it doesn't matter which one is here. I know everybody talks about the raw shit that EB has, and maybe, guys like some of that. But also when you're winning, that seems to kind of be digested a little bit easier. I guarantee, guys, again, and I just want to make this point here. I would love for somebody to tell me that if Eric Bieniemy never left after 2022, and he was here in 2023, 2024, and 2025, please, I would love for someone to explain to me why it would have been any different than how it went. How would he have avoided Rasheed's injuries and suspensions, Hollywood Brown's injury, Isaiah Pacheco's injury, Josh Simmons' disappearance, the issues of Joe Thuney having to play left tackle half a season? I mean, all these other things that really played real roles in why the Chiefs fell short in 2024 Super Bowl and had the season they just had. What would Eric Bieniemy have done to make it any different? And furthermore, my whole stance on why I'm upset about this situation, again, is not about Eric Bieniemy, the entity. It's about what Andy Reid is telling us, that he is not willing to admit that his scheme has been figured out, that his play calling has gone stale, and he needs to relinquish his duties. Trevor, on my offseason wish list, what was the first thing on my list? I said what? To Andy Reid, relinquish play calling duties. So that's been my mentality this whole offseason to this point, is to say that it needs to be a change from Andy Reid. And when that's why Eric Bieniemy's back, because Andy Reid doesn't want to do that. And that is what I feel and fear could cost the Chiefs further chances at real Super Bowl success.
Well, and to add another wrinkle to why I'm upset furthermore to this decision is I know Eric Bieniemy is never going to be the head coach here.
No.
Andy Reid's not going to be a head coach here for very much longer. Maybe a few more years, 5 max if we're lucky, right? Andy Reid's developed a great coaching tree in his career. Where is his John Harbaugh in the mix over here? If we want that kind of leadership and this kind of this successful coaching tree that Andy Reid has developed, why would we not make a decision now to bring in a guy that could be his true understudy, learn from him, and also have some more pull, maybe a bright mind like a McDaniels or a bright mind, like whoever. I don't, honestly, a Stefanski. I would take any one of those guys, honestly, and bring them in if they can be, maybe this could be the passing of the torch kind of guy, develop him for a few more years, and we have the head coach in line ready to go. But also, that's not a thing now, because we all know Eric Bieniemy is never going to be a head coach here. I was kind of hoping that we would get maybe a guy that could be that next guy when Andy Reid, he can kind of groom that next guy to be the guy. And now we know that's not happening.
And why do you think
that's frustrating to me too?
And as I said in my opening, that tells me that Andy doesn't want a guy like that because it threatens his. Right,
so when Andy's gone, what are we going to do, man? We're going to hope we can go. Yeah, because
you know Andy is looking at his mortality for real this time. He's like, I'm 67, going to be 68 next season. I know I don't got a long long runway ahead of me. So it's almost like he's like, let me just go with the guys that I'm comfortable with that won't get in my way.
Yeah.
That aren't going to take the shine. Because you know as well as I do, Trevor, if they were to have hired a Mike McDaniel, and let's say Andy Reid says you're calling plays, and things get really good next season, guess who's getting some credit for that? It's going to be the OC that comes in. When in all reality, Andy Reid made the decision to let that happen, so he deserves credit for it. But he's not seeing it that way. He's seeing it as, no, this is still my show.
It's a control thing.
Yes.
And listen, it's fair though because of how great Andy Reid has been. He's going to be one of the greatest coaches of all time. So we don't have much of a choice, but it doesn't mean we have to like it. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This just is.
Yeah.
Right? It's the reality of the situation. We have every right to be unhappy about it, though,
Right.
as fans.
Because we're talking about when this 7-year run was happening, where the Chiefs went to the AFC Championship every year for 7 years, were we sitting here bitching about Andy Reid calling plays?
No.
Not one time. Yeah. Why? Because it was still working. It may not have been pretty. Sometimes it was damn near ugly.
Yeah.
But they still were getting to Super Bowls and still going to the AFC Championship every year. So there's no point of us doing that. But now that a season like this just happened in 2025, I was listening to all these other people throughout the season. Man, there needs to be changes. There needs to be changes.
This is a great opportunity.
This was the opportunity to have said changes, and they're not doing it. And that's why I'm afraid that we're going to go into 2026, and it's going to be a very similar situation we're dealing with. Yeah. And that terrifies me because there is only so many. We talk about Andy Reid's mortality. Patrick Mahomes only got a few years in this whole thing too when it comes to his prime.
You got to understand too, bro. Our guy in the chat here, Skin in the Game show. Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out, bro. He says Andy Reid's control problem will hurt the Chiefs a few years from now when he is done and gone. I agree to that, but I think we are potentially hurt currently. You know what I mean? That's where
it starts now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. This is why this is a hot take. This is why we kind of are on the contrarian side of things right now. This is a very contrarian take because the majority of the masses, the fan base, the normies, whoever, they just kind of go with the flow with whatever Andy Reid does because in their mind, he can't do much wrong.
Right.
Until it's blatantly obvious. I see Andy Reid. Listen, I've seen the guy has failed in his career before. He absolutely has. He got kicked out of a city, by the fans. Granted, maybe the most, no offense to some people I know that are from Philly, whatever, some of the most annoying fans in the world. So when you do them wrong, they're going to let you know, and he got kicked out of that city, bro. So Andy Reid is still a flawed human. There's no perfection here. Granted, has he brought the best years of our lives as Chiefs fans so far? Yes, absolutely. But you are not exempt from scrutiny. You are not exempt from any kind of criticism.
Yep.
When we're coming off this season, and now it truly feels like we're going backwards. Well, literally are. We're going back to a guy that, we had already come and gone and has done nothing since. That's hard for people that are critically thinking Chiefs fans to kind of digest, and like I said, we're here. There's nothing we can do about it. We have no say-so in the matter. We don't get a vote. But it is maddening. It is. Like, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this is a successful move here again, but like, this is Andy Reid's Achilles heel, though. He's very stubborn. He obviously has the power, and granted, it is warranted. He deserves it. But at the same time, there is criticism that is fair.
Yeah.
So it's a pickle, bro.
We have
a pickle for
I want to get to Robert Williams' question. I know we usually keep him for speak, but I feel like this is on topic, so let's get to it now. Our guy Robert Williams asks, my question to you guys is, if they interviewed another person for the position, why was the name never mentioned to the media? Thoughts? This is exactly, but see, Robert, this is kind of what I'm trying to explain, though, is that to me it felt like they had they had no intention of entertaining anybody else. Because to your point, Robert, the only person we heard that they were interviewing was the only guy that ended up being the guy that ended up getting the job. So it looked like a foregone conclusion. Like this had been in the works for months now. Like, hey, Nagy's going to move on. We're not going to fire him because Andy doesn't like to fire guys. He lets their contracts expire. He's going to move on. Maybe get a head coaching job at worst, another OC job, and we're going to bring Eric Bieniemy back. It feels like that was the plan all along. It just really does, and that's what's frustrating about that as much as possible. And our girl Julia Gulli, shout out. I'm glad you're here. She goes, I'm here and I'm underwhelmed. Go Chiefs, Ophelia. She said the revisionist history that the kingdom has about EB is mind-boggling. Could not agree more because as we recall, Trevor, to kind of dive back into EB just for a second, I remember, and you remember, after that 2021 meltdown in the AFC Championship with the Bengals, everybody was blaming Eric Bieniemy.
They wanted his head, bro.
And ironically enough, what were we doing on this show? We were defending him. I have the tapes, kids.
Yeah.
We were on this show defending Eric Bieniemy.
It felt unfair because we know he's calling the fucking shots.
And when he went on in 2022, we were on this show saying he deserves a head coaching opportunity. So I was a fan of Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
In some ways, I still am.
Yeah.
But my thing is, after year after year after year since he's been gone, his career continues to go downward. It's like, okay, this guy clearly isn't good enough at his job. So let me just do this real quick. If I gave you guys this blind reveal, let me just ask you guys this. If I had a candidate for the offensive coordinator position, and I said, okay, over the last 3 years, this is his career. He went to the Commanders as their offensive coordinator, was fired immediately after because they finished 26th in the league in points. Then the next season, he signs a 2-year deal with the UCLA Bruins. They finish 126th in offense, gets fired after his 1 year of a 2-year deal.
He was having issues with players.
Then, yes, and then goes to the Bears and is a running backs coach. If I just showed you that resume, did not know the name on top of that, would that be a guy you'd want as the Chiefs offensive coordinator?
No. I was saying both.
That is literally Eric Bieniemy.
Context matters. Both can be true. We can wish him well and hope he does have success because we like him. That's fine. We can hope he has success elsewhere, but we don't really want you back here.
Thank you.
That's unfortunately the reality, and Andy Reid just can't help himself but bringing guys that are kind of just yes men. And I think people on this show have said that constantly, that he's going to bring in a yes man, and they were right.
We want to continue. We want to continue to get your guys' thoughts on this because we know this is the biggest topic in the Kansas City area right now when it comes to the Chiefs. So continue to pop us your guys' thoughts, your texts, your concerns, your questions, whatever you got. Before we get to our guy Farzine, who will be here just in a little bit, there's another topic I want to bring up, Trevor. This is regarding free agency, because obviously the draft's going to be a big focus, as it should be. We're going to talk plenty about that. We're going to have guests on. We're going to talk a lot about where everyone's at on the Chiefs and where they draft, how many picks they're going to have, all that stuff. Yeah. But I want to talk briefly about free agency, because obviously the Chiefs have got to get better in the draft. We know that. But I think there are a few positions that they need to spend real money at in free agency. And if we can put that graphic up real quick, Trevor, this is my free agent targets that I'd like to see the Chiefs get in particular. So running back, wide receiver, and safety are 3 positions I'm looking at. These are the 3 names that come off the top of my list. Now, obviously, it can change because guys' markets, they'll go up and down. So maybe a guy gets priced out, or maybe a guy falls into the Chiefs' price, and we can talk about that as time goes on. So I reserve my right to change my opinion on this. But these are the 3 names that I'm looking at right now. Kenneth Walker is a dude I want in this offseason so badly. His market deal right now is $8.3 million a year. That is an absolute steal, in my opinion, for a Kenneth Walker. Now, if let's say the Seahawks go to the Super Bowl, let's say they win, doesn't really matter, but if they get to the Super Bowl, his market's probably going to go up. He's 25 years old. I think he just turned 25. In fact, I think it was turned 25 like in December. So he's very young. He doesn't have as much mileage on his legs as you think, because it's a 2-headed monster in Seattle with him and Zach Charbonnet. So I think that he's going to be a perfect guy to bring into this offense. He's big, physical, can catch out of the backfield. Doesn't have he has some injury history, but nothing like substantial on a consistent basis. He's a guy that can mostly stay healthy for the most part. He's a 3-down back. Very agile, very reliable. That's the kind of guy I'd like to see the Chiefs. I know Breece Hall and guys like that are out there. Breece Hall's gonna be more expensive. He is about the same age, so I wouldn't mind Breece Hall, obviously, but this is the name that comes to mind. Obviously, you guys know my crush on Alec Pierce. I've been preaching this now for a couple of months. I think he makes total sense. It's a little over $20 million per year, but there are currently 24 wide receivers in the league making at least $20 million a year. So that is the run now. That's what you're gonna be paying guys out there.
Best season.
Yes, and they were paying Sammy Watkins around $18 million a year too, back in 2018 through 2020. So it makes sense to go and get a guy like that, a solid field stretching, tall, physical receiver like that.
Good receiver.
And I know this is a guy that a lot of Chiefs fans don't like because of the hit he put on Juju in 2022, but this is a dog, Andre Sisco. And he's real cheap, $3.6 million per year. He's only 26 years old, makes a ton of sense for the Chiefs because they are in desperate need for veteran safety help. And if we know anything about Brett Veach, he likes getting those veteran safeties. 6 of his 8 years in Kansas City as the GM, they had Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reid as his safeties. Yep. I think this is a guy that makes total sense. Trevor, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, yeah, man. I love all those moves. I do think there are other running backs I would probably prefer over Kenneth Walker. He's always kind of struggled to stay healthy. I don't think he's ever completed a full season.
Oh, I thought he did this year. My bad.
Maybe he did. I could have sworn.
I think he played all 17 games
this year. I don't know.
I know Zach Charbonnet missed a game.
Well, they both kind of are banged up. But granted, the running back of all positions is the position where you get banged up. So most guys don't ever. I mean, there are very few players of that position have played every game every season. That just doesn't happen. But he's been hurt pretty severely a couple times in his career already. I do like him, but there are running backs out there that I think would all fit well in this offense. He is a great pick, though, for sure. His skill set. The Cisco one is ironic.
It's controversial.
Yeah. But I like talent, man. That guy's without question talented. Comes from a good program too. That always matters to me. I don't like taking guys from terrible teams that show out on terrible teams. That kind of can be smoke and mirrors kind of stuff. So I like guys that come from good defensive schemes. Has been a part of good defensive schemes in his career. That just comes with you build knowledge as a player. So I like guys like that can kind of come in and be a chess piece. We saw that, like you said. Yeah. Justin Reid and Tyrann Mathieu both came in and were seamless fits. So this feels like a similar move to that. And then the Alec Pierce move is a no-brainer to me. I think he's talk about seamless fit. That guy is an ideal fit for what this offense needs. We saw Tyquan Thornton flourish for several weeks in this offense. He's a far better player than Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan might be the better athlete to a degree, possibly, but Alec Pierce is an absolute dog. People don't realize. I think he's better than he's even been given a chance
Thank
to.
you.
Honestly, because with the quarterback situation he's been playing with, and he's still showing out. So, he's got Daniel Jones and whatever, Anthony Richardson throwing in the ball. Like, you get him like some legitimate good quarterback play, and fucking Grandpa Phillip Rivers out here throwing in the ball. Like, this guy, you give him a pat, I think Alec could be an absolute stud in this offense. And honestly fill a need that we've been really trying to figure out with Pat since Tyreek's been gone. We haven't had a good deep ball tracker kind of receiver. He's a really good ball tracker.
Yeah.
Big body, fast as hell, good red zone threat as well. I love all those picks, bro. I'd be on board with all of them.
Well, I want to,
in the budget they would fit in is nice too.
Yeah, and I want to add this as well because we aren't sure yet. I do believe though that Travis Kelce is going to retire. But if when Travis does retire, I want to throw another name out there. Okay, I would love nothing more than to see the Chiefs going on acquiring Kyle Pitts.
He's gonna get paid.
He has, I believe that too. You could very well be right. But here's the thing. I looked on SpotRack.
So what, 28 now?
He's 25.
Is he 25?
He's 25 years old.
I thought he was like...
He'll be 26 next season. He's 20. Look that up. He is 25 years old.
That's crazy.
He has a current market value of only $14.6 million per year. Listen, guys, I still believe he will get more than that on the open market. But if he doesn't, I would place him right at the top of my free agent target list and would rather them go that route than even spend money on Alec Pierce. I'm that serious about having...
Or Kenneth Walker.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Late running back and just go after... Yeah, absolutely.
Because think about it. Like, the wide receiver position, I obviously think Alec Pierce would make a ton of sense here. But if you're comparing, like, okay, what would be a better fit for the Chiefs right now, Alec Pierce or Kyle Pitts? You go Kyle Pitts because we know Patrick Mahomes loves throwing to the tight end position, especially because of his connection with Kelce. Obviously, Pitts will never be Kelce, but the talent that he would bring to this team still very young.
Talent than Kelce, though. I love Kelce, but Kelce's always been just the mind meld, and his IQ has always been so high.
And plus, the Chiefs have, for better or worse, whether you want to believe these guys or not, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are two guys the Chiefs are obviously still hitching their wagon to at the wide receiver position. We know that Jalen Royals is going to get his shot. I still expect the Chiefs to probably draft another receiver at some point in this draft coming up, but I think that, like I said, the tight end position is one of those positions that we don't really know what's going to happen. So once the clarity is set in on what Kelce's going to do, if he does ultimately retire, I do think that Kyle Pitts has to be more of the focus, because if he does sit right around 14 to 15 million, the Chiefs can absolutely make that work. I still think there's going to be a team out there that probably overspends or at least pays him higher on the market value. But if that doesn't happen, the Chiefs would be insane not to go after him. So those are the guys, like I said, that I just kind of look at right now. We can change this. Like I said, we can talk about this throughout the offseason, but that's where I stand on it. Obviously, you guys know where Trevor stands on it. I do want to get some of these takes before we get to our guy Farzine, who will be on in just a little bit. Let's see here. ACU Misfit Julia Goulia says, how much input y'all think Patrick had? I think she's talking about, obviously, the Eric Bieniemy returning. Yeah. And if the scheme gets Mahomes frustrated again, what then? Patrick isn't running this season, and he really shouldn't. So I think, okay, for what it's worth, guys, because we're hearing up in Buffalo that Josh Allen is getting like a lot of say about their coaching situation. Kind of weird. I don't know if I really dig that personally. I don't know if your quarterback should be the one that really has a big say on who the next head coach is. I understand that Josh Allen's a big name. Obviously, he's the most important guy in that region. But I like to believe that the guys that are paid to make those decisions are the ones that are more involved in that. That's just my opinion. Yeah. I say all that to say, though, that Patrick Mahomes, I have a hard time believing when it comes to a staff member on a coaching staff like this that's been together as long as it has, and it's a guy that's returning. I think that Patrick obviously had an opinion, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if it would have changed anything if he wasn't like super on board, because I think Eric Bieniemy was on his way anyway. Yeah. And that's why when everybody tells me, well, look what Patrick Mahomes is saying, look what Travis Kelce is saying about Eric Bieniemy, guys. These guys obviously have a relationship with the kid.
They're gonna say?
Right. They're not going to sit there on New Heights and go, when there's 14 million people watching, and go, fuck EB, man. I don't fucking... Like, they're not going to say that. So, like, I don't really take... Yeah. And we see, like, Mitchell Schwartz, who I respect vehemently, but he's on other shows saying stuff about... He was with Matt Verderame this week, talking about why it's a good thing that EB was back. And all he kept talking about was the stuff about Eric Bieniemy yelling at people. And I'm like... If that's all you're bringing, go coach high school. Like, for me, that's when it comes to professionals, I don't need a hard ass. I'm not saying it can't work or it isn't like an acceptable thing.
I mean, it makes sense if we're a team that's like trying to look for some edge to become something. We're already established as a dynasty.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like,
you don't need a rah-rah guy.
Do you think Tom Brady had a bunch of coaches around that was chewing his ass out? No, like I understand that. Like Bill O'Brien had a couple exchanges. Him and Josh Allen have exchanges. That's heat of the moment shit. I'm talking about a guy like EB. Like even Pete Sweeney said, like my favorite memory is when Eric Bieniemy was saying or telling a young guy that wasn't running hard enough that he wouldn't give him water if he was starved, or he wouldn't give him water if he was parched in the desert. I'm like, that's a great story. Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It just feels kind of just goofy. You know what I mean? So I want coaches here that are here because of the prowess and the knowledge they have of the game, because they're going to bring something to the table that is more than rah-rah shit. Yeah. Like the days of guys like Mike Tomlin and things like that are going away. And this is the point I've been making, Trevor, about Andy Reid, about how he needs to adapt, adjust, and evolve with the league because it has caught up to him. For 7 years, it didn't, but now it has. And if you've seen guys, the longest tenured head coaches of the last 20 years was Bill Belichick, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin. All three of those guys are no longer with those teams that they were once with. Why do you think that is? Is it because they just suck at coaching? No, it's because they didn't adapt, adjust, and evolve. That's the point. I want Andy Reid to coach here as long as he can. I want him there because he's gotten the benefit of the doubt. But I start to have doubts of it when I see him make decisions like this that are nothing but comfort and just doing the thing that feels good and just making sure that everything is nice and neat.
Ironically, for me, I feel like John Harbaugh got the ugly end of the stick. I feel like they pandered too much to Lamar, and Lamar let him down consistently. That's where I'm at with the Baltimore stuff. I think John Harbaugh's an elite head coach, in my personal opinion. I think he's a great head coach. But yeah, that's a whole different.
But you get what I'm saying, though.
Patrick Mahomes makes more sense because he wins in the big moments. You can rely on that guy.
Right.
It's a whole different situation.
Right.
And they didn't start winning the big games until Pat got here.
And how ironic is it that John Harbaugh says in his opening presser with the Giants that he talked with Andy Reid, who he did come from the Andy Reid tree. And what did Andy Reid tell John Harbaugh? Change is good. Yeah. How fucking ironic is that? That's Andy wants to tell John that change is good, and then Andy Reid turns around and does anything but change.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I mean, you know what I'm saying, dude? It's just look. I don't want us to come off here as if we're just trying to just gripe and complain about Andy Reid, because again, I'm always trying to come with solutions. But we've been trying
we're grateful here.
Yes,
foremost,
but we're trying to. But here's the thing: we're not at that part of this story where Patrick Mahomes is 38 years old.
Not finished.
Yeah, and we're just now we're like, you know what, man, we had a great run. You know what I mean? Like when that time comes, we can have those conversations. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes has just turned 30. We should be sitting here talking about, okay, how do the Chiefs get to their next Super Bowl? Yeah. But I can't do that right now when the Chiefs aren't making those decisions.
The Cavs.
Right. It just feels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, it's a name. Like sure, they had success with him.
Yeah.
But is it like, that's what I'm saying. It's a mentality thing I'm talking about, guys. My whole thing. Remember I talked about the wide receiver position, Trevor, and how the Chiefs need to change their mentality on how they draft receivers.
Yeah.
These are things these are solutions we're looking at. And I understand that we're fans. Obviously, I said this to Austin Thompson on his show in Skin of the Game. I said, I would not want these guys' job because the pressure they have on them is unbelievable. I don't want that. But I think sometimes fans being on the outside can sometimes see things a little bit more precise, a little clearer. Yeah. Because when you're too close to the situation, sometimes we know this, Trevor, in our own lives, when sometimes you're a little too close to a situation, you may not see everything that's going on.
Yeah,
you might have
the sun.
Yeah, you might have a little, little rose-colored glasses. And because of the relationship you have with Eric Bieniemy, you think, oh, this will work because it did before. Well, I'm sorry, I don't see prime Tyreek Hill and prime Travis Kelce here. I don't see Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz here. This is a whole different nucleus, guys. If Travis Kelce retires and the Chiefs don't re-sign James Winchester, guess how many players were here with Eric Bieniemy that would be here in 2026? Yeah. Patrick Mahomes, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Chris Jones, Nick Bolton. It's a handful of players on a 53-man roster.
Half of them he doesn't even coach.
You know what I'm saying, dude? Like, that's the point I'm trying to make here, guys. And with all the influx on this roster, there are supposed to be up almost 30 free agents on this roster this year. This is the perfect opportunity for Andy Reid to make real, significant change, to put this team in a better position so 2025 never happens again. Because as excited as I am, Trevor, that the Chiefs have a top 10 pick this year, I don't want this to happen again. I don't want to see in the Mahomes era the Chiefs have a top 10 pick
goal
again.
is to not to have a high pick.
Right.
That's the goal. That's where all the shitty teams are.
So you have to ask the question.
That's not good company.
So you have to ask the question, because we sit here and talk about, hey, how did the Chiefs get to 7 straight AFC championships?
Yeah.
Well, now we have to ask the question, how the fuck did the Chiefs get the 9th overall pick?
What are we doing up there?
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you ask the questions on both sides, you get honest responses and go, okay, you got the 7 straight AFC championships because you did this right, this right, this right, this right, this right. Yeah. You got a 6-11 record because you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. It's that simple.
And Eric Bieniemy is obviously the fix all, right? This is what we're.
Listen, dude, I don't have any alcohol around me, but I might start drinking.
Says so. God damn it. We do have one more question or another question.
Yeah.
Our guy. Might as well get to these now.
Of course.
Our guy Noah John Marshall. He said, "How much stock we putting in the new wide receiver coach? A lot of people saying this guy is a good genius, a god genius. Are we extremely excited? If so, good. Why is he still a wide receiver coach for like a decade? Possible future OC in KC."
Look, from everything I know about this guy, and I know very limited amounts of him.
I don't know much.
So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know a bunch about him. I have heard these things. This has been the discussion about this guy, and a lot of people are big on this hire. But that's the point, and Noah John Marshall just broke that down perfectly.
Yeah.
Why has this guy been a wide receiver coach this long? It's the same question I'm asking about Eric Bieniemy. Why hasn't he gotten that head coaching opportunity? Why? And I know our guy John Harrison said, just to be clear, Washington, Rivera and the coaches were fired, and they had shit quarterbacks then. That's all fair. But why didn't Eric Bieniemy get another OC job right after that, or why didn't the Commanders retain him? Why did the Chiefs let him walk in 2022? These are the questions I'm asking that I can't get answers for. People can make excuses, but those aren't answers. Those are excuses. We can't sit here and talk about. So when we talk about this receivers coach, maybe he will be a positive. Maybe, because I'm sure he's going to be better than Connor Embry. But
impactful like a Kafka or something.
But we're not looking at positions coaches and saying that's the end all be all of this Chiefs team getting better or worse. No offense. Like position coaches do matter. Because I named off a bunch of them that ended up becoming great head coaches. Those guys do matter. But when you're hiring lifers, not some 34-year-old dude who's trying to break his teeth into this game, that is a different significance. If I heard that some young buck who's been, film studying like crazy, maybe a former player, maybe not, that wants to be a positions coach, I welcome it gladly. Because I want to see maybe this guy's got something a little special to him. Because we see story after story after story after story of guys like that. Like Andy Reid, who never called plays before he was a head coach, by the way. He was a positions coach. So I'm all for it. But this guy, like I said, has been a lifer. So clearly Andy brought him in to be what? A yes man. And I'm not trying to say that negatively. That's just the facts. Andy likes guys that don't ruffle feathers. And that goes all the way up and down his locker room, his coaching staff. He doesn't like guys that start controversy, for better or worse.
He doesn't like players that do it. This is why he has such a, and for good reason.
Sure.
You don't want guys stirring the pot and having off-field issues, things like that, too, or saying things like derogatory towards the refs. We saw that with Travis Kelce in his early days. So he kind of has his guys on a short leash all the way around, coaching and players, which I think is mostly a net good. But yeah, man, we're just not going to get that in the Andy Reid era. It just is what it is. We're not going to have a true challenge to Andy Reid's play calling duties.
Our guy Michael T. Hall chimed in and said, if Andy doesn't have an answer for the run game, I'm going to be highly upset. This is what I'm going to say about this, guys.
I do think that's a part to why EB is back.
But see, remember we talked about this yesterday. Yep. This is my pushback to that narrative, though, is that the Chiefs are going to get better at running back this season. They are going to sign a free agent. I do think they're going to draft someone at some point. I think naturally they're going to be better because you know why, guys? They couldn't have been much worse. Yeah. When Isaiah Pacheco is your starting running back in year 4 after he's been broken down, and you're relying on Kareem Hunt, who's still an effective piece, but is in no way, shape, or form a starting running back in today's NFL. When those are your 2 guys you're relying on, and then, oh, by the way, you're trying to develop a 7th-round running back again, your running game's going to be ass. And not to mention the fact that Chiefs don't run the ball enough to justify having a legitimate run game. So people say, well, Eric Bieniemy's going to help. Because look what the Bears did with Monungai and DeAndre Swift. Those guys are really good. Yep. So I'd like to believe, no offense to Eric Bieniemy, I'd like to think those guys are going to be probably good anyway. I think no matter who their running backs coach was, they're probably going to be pretty good. Because those guys are good players. DeAndre Swift was a damn good player in Detroit. He was. And he was with Ben Johnson back then, too. So I'm going to give Ben Johnson a lot of credit for that as well, because he was the OC in Detroit. Now, when it comes to this running game, yes, if Eric Bieniemy has the same exact running back room, let's say that they run it back with that one in 2025 to 2026, when it's Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Rashard Smith, and you see the run game improve, I'm going to get Eric Bieniemy a lot of credit. But we all know deep down that's not going to be the same room. We know in 2026 there's going to be a Breece Hall, or Tyler Algier, or Kenneth Walker, Rashad White. Somebody like that's going to be here.
I think it can simply improve just by not playing out of shotgun as much as we did this past couple seasons.
Well, that's going to be Andy. That comes down to Andy. It doesn't even come down to EB.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because we know. Everybody keeps trying to tell me that EB calls the plays. Guys, go watch the clip. And maybe the biggest play call in the history of this franchise, when Patrick Mahomes asks for Wasp, he doesn't ask EB if he can run Wasp. He asks EB to ask Andy Reid in the headset.
Time to run Wasp.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes' idea.
Yes. And EB did what? He was the conduit to Andy Reid, and Andy Reid said, do it, and he gave it to Patrick Mahomes. That's the point I'm trying to make, guys, is as long as Andy Reid's calling the plays, the offensive coordinator is going to just be an offensive conduit. He's not going to have the power to make real and adequate change. That is why I stand where I stand on this. That until my real worry in all of this is that we're going to be sitting here after 2026 going, did we just really lose another season of Patrick Mahomes' career?
Yeah.
Did we really just waste another season? I'm trying to warn everybody of this because sometimes we can see things a little bit further ahead than other people that just casually watch the Chiefs and just follow them and don't, they can't do no wrong. That's basically what people try to tell me. Just shut up and accept it. Okay. And then when we're here another year from now and we're sitting here about how the Chiefs maybe fall short when they didn't have to, we're going to sit here and talk about, hey, remember when we had that conversation last January? This is what we were talking about. Trevor said it best. I want to be wrong.
Yeah.
I would love it if Eric Bieniemy comes in here and revolutionizes the offense. But does anybody actually with any real conviction in your mind and in your heart say out loud, Eric Bieniemy is going to run this offense? It's not going to happen, guys. That is why he's back.
It feels like we're just trying to conserve instead of promote new ideas. We're just simply just trying to conserve and try to keep the ball rolling the same way it's been and not trying to actually adapt and to maybe bring in new things and force change. It's clearly not what Andy Reid wants, man.
Yeah.
So
and Julia said it too. Everybody forgot about Patrick getting into it with EB on the sideline. You know what? Here's my thing. I can live with that. Because that does happen. They're grown men. There's a lot of pressure. I remember the context of that moment because it was a Colts game that they ended up losing, a very frustrating game.
Ironically, yeah, and that was in a low moment.
Yes.
And we think AB is going to come in at the lowest possible moment. Now it's going to help.
That's my point, dude. Like
the logic doesn't make too much sense to me.
And again,
of Andy Reid's logic of just doing what he's always done.
And who was everybody blaming for the meltdown in the second half against the Bengals?
Yeah, he was the scapegoat then.
It's the same guy, everybody. And I'm not saying obviously Travis and Patrick, these guys love him, but because you love somebody doesn't mean you're qualified for a job. Trevor, there are people that we love and care for. That doesn't mean that, you know what? You're going to start cleaning my house. You're going to start cleaning my car. No, just because we have a relationship with people doesn't mean that they're qualified to do jobs. That's the only thing I'm trying to make. You know what? I've rambled my mouth long enough. We officially have to get to our guy, a guy that I've been very excited to talk to for a long time now. I would like to consider a friend and a friend of this show, even though this is officially the first time he's been on the show. I'm excited for this. I hope you guys are excited for this. I can't hear anything yet, so hopefully that's going to change in a second. There we go. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the best content creators in the Chiefs community. I know you guys know who he is. I don't even need to make an introduction. I can just sit here and just say, hey, let's start talking football. But I'm going to do it anyway, because that's what we do here at the Spoken Podcast. We have respect for our guests. We have respect for the people that take time out of their time to hang out with us in this time.
Very respectful.
So without further ado, it is time for the one, the only, Fonzie versus...
What's up, Lance? Wow, that might have been the best introduction I've ever gotten on a podcast. I appreciate that.
Damn right it is. Damn right it is, Farzine. Dude.
By the way, thank you for saying my name correctly.
In the mirror.
Dude, I practice it all day. All day. I did not stop. Dude, I nailed it like 3 times out of like 75. So that was the 4th time out of 76. That was some really good timing. I'm just letting you know, dude. Just letting you know.
That's awesome. So, hey man, I appreciate you having me on. I know you've been doing your thing for a while, and finally good to connect and do this.
Hell yeah, dude! You've been kicking ass. I watch all the stuff you put out there, man. You're a very thoughtful individual. You're somebody that puts this is what we respect. We like people that come on this show and put out content out there on their own that think for themselves. They're not just people that just blindly put out recycled jargon, bullshit, things like that. We like people that are putting stuff out there that is coming from them, and I can always tell the difference. Been around long enough to know that, and I think you're one of those people, man, which is why we're so excited to have you on here, because I think you and I are going to be disagreeing on a few things. And I think you and some of our personal conversations before the show, obviously, I think we already addressed that. And I don't know if you heard anything that I started the show off with, but You know, the biggest story, the biggest topic here in Kansas City right now has to do with the Chiefs bringing back their former offensive conduit, as I like to call him, the OC, Eric Bieniemy. I'm going to be real with you, Farzine. I'm not excited about this move, man. I think that this tells me a couple of things, and the most important thing of it is that Andy Reid is not willing to make adequate change in a league that is caught up to the Chiefs in a lot of ways. And when the league does that, you have to adapt, evolve, and adjust, and do all the things necessary to stay at the top or to get back at the top, if you will. This sounds to me like Andy Reid is not willing to do what I think he needs to do, which is relinquish play calling duties. I think he could still be a great coach, an overseer, a guy that still has 51% of the vote, as he likes to say. But I would like to see somebody that comes in here with a fresh set of eyes, fresh ideas, still utilize the same schemes, same concepts, things like that, but kind of have their own flavor to it, because we haven't had that since Andy Reid's been here. And when he's been coaching this long and the league has figured it out to a certain degree to where you have results like 2025, I think this was the perfect opportunity to do so, and there were names out there that I think they could have done that with. Instead, they went with what was comfortable, what was safe, and bringing back a guy that, yes, had success here before, but since he's left in 2022, his career really hasn't gone to the place that we all maybe anticipated it would, and I think there's a reason for that. Farzine, give me your thoughts on this decision. Why do you like it? Why do you dislike it? Where are you at on this whole thing? And we can go from there, brother.
Yeah, you raised some great points, and I definitely want to answer your questions. And I don't mean to get off topic here. I'm trying to share this. I shared this on Twitter. Are you live streaming on Facebook?
Yes, we are.
I can't find you. Where are you on Facebook?
It might be there was an alert for some reason that said that we were having trouble on Facebook. I can try to see if I can adjust.
I'll send you the link. I'll just send you the link right now, Farzine.
Okay, yeah, send in that private chat, and I'll share it in a minute. Okay. So yeah, so to answer your question, let me just share a story. Are you guys familiar with the depth chart on OurLads.com? I'm sure a lot of people use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Dan Shonka runs that. For those who don't know Dan Shonka, he was a scout for the Chiefs back in the Dick Vermeil era. Also was a scout for KU, and he was also a scout for Andy Reid in Philly. And I remember several years ago, I had him on the podcast, and I talked about the play calling duties. It's something that you brought up a moment ago. And I just mentioned, I'm like, why doesn't Andy Reid ever just hand off play calling duties to someone that he can trust at the offensive coordinator position? And his response was, it's just not what Andy Reid does. And I know you guys know this just as well as anybody else. And you saw it with this coaching cycle, as you know, there are some head coaches that want to continue to become head coaches, or maybe they take down and go for some assistant roles, like a Mike McDaniel, who right now it sounds like he's going to be the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Maybe there's an opportunity for him to be a head coach elsewhere. But the thing is, with a lot of people wanting Andy Reid to go to the outside, that's just not something he does, whether we like that or not. And I'll say this. I'm sure you guys have heard Joe Cullen is interviewing for the Ravens defensive coordinator position. Why is he interviewing for that position? Because because he was the assistant coach for the Ravens from 2016 to 2017. Jesse Minter, who's now the head coach of the Ravens, he's considering Joe Cullen as a DC because he knows him. Familiarity is a really big deal in sports. Why is Eric Bieniemy bringing in Chad O'Shea? Because they know each other from Minnesota. Listen, you can say this for any industry. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I know some people may not like that, but that is really how the world works and all. Specifically with Bieniemy, let me just say why I like this. I'm not a fan of giving up on someone after 1 year. I know sports fans are so quick to give up on a draft pick in the first round. Say, oh, this guy's a bust. Let's give it time. With Matt Nagy, I was open to a second chance as an OC. I know a lot of people criticize his time in Chicago, and I know you've mentioned this on social media, Lance, that, you know, listen, he didn't get a fair shake in Chicago. I mean, he went to the playoffs with Mitchell Trubisky, and I think he's got to get his flowers for that. But the thing about it, too, is when you just look at him just as an offensive coordinator, the last 3 years, they've never been higher than 15th in scoring. They've never been higher than 9th in total offense. Under Bieniemy in 5 years, they've always been top 6 in those two categories. And I know a lot of people mentioned, well, that was when prime Tyreek Hill and prime Travis Kelce were on the team. Sure. But if you're a good coach, I think you can help develop some of these new younger guys. In 2022, they didn't have Tyreek Hill, and Mahomes had his best season ever. Kelce, everyone said Kelce was going to get double teamed now that Tyreek Hill was off the team in 2022, and Kelce had a record-setting year at the tight end position that season. So I think the most important thing is accountability. Everyone's mentioned that with the offensive coordinator position over the last year. And I think with 𝚂𝙿𝙸 coming in, I know Gronk made a huge deal on 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺 show talking about how he is responsible for the development of Julian Edelman in New England. And that excites me because Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, they need serious help right now. I know Nate Taylor came out with that comment saying that the receivers were frustrated with their previous wide receivers coach and Connor Embry. And I've got on good authority, the receivers didn't really take Connor Embry very seriously for reasons why I don't know. But they just weren't under the right guidance. And I think with Eric Bieniemy coming back and what he did before, and with 𝚂𝙿𝙸 being the wide receivers coach, I think that's really important. And that's why I'm excited for the addition of those two guys for 2026.
This is what I want to say, because I think there's valid points there, Farzine, but this is the kind of the pushback I have, because when we talk about the time, the Eric Bieniemy was here from 2018 to 2022, and then you see Matt Nagy from 2023 to 2025, and you look at the production and the difference between them. Yeah, I do think that the prime Kelce, prime Tyreek part is a valid discussion to have, but I look from it from such a different perspective, because what we started this whole basis off of was Andy Reid does things the way Andy Reid does it, and we know that this is his offense. He lets Spags run the defense as if he's like a separate head coach. He doesn't get in the way on the defensive side. So we know that Andy is very much in control of the offense, and when we talk about, well, look what the offense was with this guy as the OC, and look at the offense with this guy as the OC. For me, I can't do that because I know that the end-all, be-all is Andy Reid. So I don't want to oversimplify this argument, but I look at this as, this is an Andy Reid credit for what was 2018 to 2022, where they had the number one offense multiple times, won in exciting fashion, won multiple Super Bowls that way. But I also discredit, or blame rather, Andy Reid for what's happened now because of lack of a development. I understand that he doesn't develop the players, but he is the overseer of who they're drafting with Brett Veach, who they're developing. This is Andy Reid's show. So I feel like sometimes we as fans pick and choose to give him credit for all the great things, but then start blaming Matt Nagy for the problems. And I agree. I think that's just kind of unfair. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, no. And I've had this conversation with Jason Dunn before, and I know you know JD real well. Absolutely. It's funny because I've said this millions of times. When things work on offense, everyone credits Mahomes, Kelce, Tyreek, Watkins, Andy Reid, whoever is responsible for that great play. But whenever things go wrong, all those people I just mentioned are above criticism, and Matt Nagy, Eric Bieniemy, those guys are at fault for when things go wrong. It's like, come on, we can't have it both ways. Right. Well, let me just say this, because you mentioned that the offense, it goes through Andy Reid, it ends with Andy Reid. True, yes. And Alex Smith said as much, I think it was this week or the week before. And listen, obviously, you're not going to argue with Alex Smith because he was literally the starting quarterback here for 5 years. So he knows how this team operates. I'm sure maybe they've changed things a little bit going from Smith to Mahomes, but it's still, for the most part, the same offensive function. The thing that I would push back on is, yes, Andy Reid's the play caller, but Eric Bieniemy still has a big responsibility. I think there's this big preconceived notion that the offensive coordinator is just the offensive coordinator by title. Well, they're still responsible for the strategy, the game planning, running the meetings. I know Travis Kelce, the week of the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl, he was on ESPN and was asked about, hey, what does Eric Bieniemy do? Because people were kind of going nuts, like, why is he not getting a head coaching job at the time? And Kelce was talking about, hey, this guy does all these things, running the meetings, preparing all the guys, getting them ready. And I think that's what the Chiefs needed. Look, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but I think we all know that there's a much different coaching style from Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy. And I think, going back to those numbers I mentioned, being top 6 in points scored and total offense all 5 years. And again, yeah, I get it. Prime Kelce, prime Hill for a majority of those years. I still think you've got to go back to what worked because, and I'll give Buffalo as an example here. Look at Buffalo. They don't know who their head coach is going to be. They're interviewing Phillip Rivers, a high school quarterback.
Like, hey, listen, I'm sure Philip Rivers could make a good a head coach one day, but to just go from high school coach to NFL head coach, that is a massive jump. My point here is when you have a great quarterback, like the Bills do with Josh Allen, like the Chiefs do with Patrick Mahomes, you cannot waste their time in Kansas City. You always have to maximize their potential. I said this many years ago when Mahomes got off to that hot start in 2018 and 2019. It's like, we can't waste his time here. And unfortunately, the last 3 years have not been good for the offense. Sure, it's led to 2 Super Bowl appearances, winning one of them, which led to a back-to-back Super Bowl wins. But you've got to have a better offensive production. That's why they made this move.
My final pushback on this, and we'll move on because I have some other things I really want to get your thoughts on here, because it's not all bad. Obviously, I think that the Chiefs have a lot of opportunities here this offseason to get right back into Super Bowl contention. I believe that they could potentially do that. But, you know, we talk about what Eric Bieniemy brings, and I know that, you know, Kels and Mahomes have, you know, sung his praises because I know they really love the guy. They have a lot of camaraderie with him. They have great success with him. So I think that is very palatable. It's very easy to talk about sometimes because the success follows and everything just feels good. You know, maybe in the moment you're fighting amongst yourselves, but it's family. You know, you eventually get over it and you go have Thanksgiving dinner together, you know, and you reminisce on the good times. But when it comes to this accountability shit, let's just be real, Farzine. I want to know how you substantiate that. Like, where is the substance of that? Because, you know, people say he's going to bring accountability back, and that's what he's really good at. Well, I look at it, Farzine, and from what I looked at my research was 3 of the 5 years that he was the Chiefs offensive coordinator, they finished in the top 8 in offensive penalties. They never finished more than 16th in running yards, ranked amongst the league. Like, I want to give him credit for what he can bring to this team, but maybe I'm just an idiot here, but I don't know. Shut up, Trevor. I just don't know, like, what he's going to bring to this team that accountability-wise that's going to get the – because what if happens, you know, in 2026, they're right back in the thick of it of offensive penalties, and, you know, the offense isn't right back to the humming of the 6th overall offense or ranking in the top 6 overall. Like, what is going to be the reaction to that if that is the case? Because for me, I'm going to look at it and say, well, guys, the history has all been there this whole time. When you guys talk about accountability – they were getting offensive penalties with the best of them, and now they're not scoring like they did back in the day. Like, it's gonna be something that's gonna be very, like I said in the opening act, it's gonna start falling on Andy Reid because Matt Nagy, as we all know, was the scapegoat here. He was the guy that everyone just blamed, and it was easy to put it on him. But this is Andy Reid's show, like I said, not to repeat myself. So I ask all that to ask, like, what is it, in your opinion, that Eric Bieniemy is actually going to bring? Because you mentioned scheme, game plan, all that stuff. That is the job of offensive coordinator. But the majority of the people out there that are happy about this acquisition is, oh, he's going to be that hard ass. He's going to make people accountable. He didn't do that, in my opinion, based on the penalties that we saw from 2018 to 2022, man.
Oh, so I have a question. Obviously, that's before Juwan Taylor, so we can't blame Juwan Taylor on that. Do you know specifically, like, who were the culprits for those penalties for the most part? Do you have that by any chance?
It was a lot of holding. I saw that. A lot of holding and, like, formational issues, things like that.
Okay. No, you make some good points. Yeah, what does it mean to be accountable? Is it just yelling at a guy more than the average coach does today? I don't know. Here's what I will say, and this is, forget about all the stats out there. Remember 2023 with the drops? Let's go back to 2022. Who were the wide receivers? Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's put him aside for a moment, and I'll explain why shortly. You had Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, Justin Watson. Kadarius Toney was acquired during the season. Kadarius Toney was a solid wide receiver yet that year. I mean, I remember in that offseason in 2023, right before the draft, Brett reached at a press conference saying we were impressed with how quickly Kadarius Toney picked up the offense mid-season. And I think when you compare it to Josh Gordon, who was on the team for a year and a half, he couldn't even get on the field at the time. And that was a guy who used to be great at one point. Now, fast forward to 2023, you have the same wide receivers. The only difference is Juju went to the Patriots and you drafted Rashee Rice. You have, for the most part, the same offense. They brought back Jerick McKinnon, who ended the 2022 regular season as AFC Offensive Player of the Month. All of a sudden, when you have merely the same wide receiver group, they're dropping passes all of a sudden the next season. I mean, MVS wasn't dropping passes in 2022. Sky Moore wasn't a drop merchant the year before. Kadarius Toney couldn't catch a pass to save his life. That wasn't the issue at all with Kadarius Toney. We were all excited in 2023 to see if Kadarius Toney would grow in that offseason. So I think that's one big part right there. And I remember Tyreek Hill, when he first got traded, he started his podcast. And one of the very first episodes, I think he mentioned in 2021, they got blown out by the Bills on Sunday Night Football. And that entire week, EB just lashed out at all of them. He was like, this is what you guys did. You guys let this team come into your home and let them beat you like that. I'm giving you guys the G-rated paraphrase explanation of how it all went. But, I think he lets them know, like, hey, you screwed up. You played like shit, and you've got to play much better than that. The last thing I will say is look at all the issues over the last few years. I mean, you had the last 3 years, you had all the drops. Jawan Taylor committed 55 penalties. You had Kadarius Toney and DeAndre Hopkins. They both committed an offside penalty. And I thought it was weird of Hopkins to do that in his NFL debut. And that's too many for a wide receiver to do. Did you see any of these repeated mistakes when Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator? Because the narrative with Mahomes, whenever Mahomes has a bad game, he comes back stronger the next game, way better the next game. We didn't really see that the last 3 years. When Mahomes or the Chiefs offense came off a bad game, we kind of saw it on repeat for the following week and maybe even the week after. That's just not something we saw in the 5 years under EB.
Those are fair points. Farzine, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. You're the only person that's made me actually think about that. So I'm gonna take that into consideration. I'm gonna dwell on it for like a week, and then I'm gonna DM you with like a bunch of thoughts, and you're just gonna have to respond to the novel that I'm gonna write you. Okay? So for what that's
all right, I look forward to
it. But building on this story now that we know that Eric Bieniemy is back, there's a lot of speculation out there, and I know that you're very plugged in on this far more than I am. With the New Heights podcast that just dropped this week, we heard Travis Kelce, and I believe that Kelce's a very calculated individual. He knows how to utilize the media because he's kind of a part of it unofficially now.
Yeah.
The way he talked in this episode was a lot different than the way he talked about the Chiefs and his future a couple episodes before that, when he was talking about the Chiefs as the Chiefs and not us, which is usually how he handles things. But in this EB conversation he was having with Jason, the tonality was definitely noticeable. It was definitely different. And it got people to really start wondering, is Kelce leaning more towards coming back? Now, for me, I'm just to make it official here, and everybody that's watching is fully well aware, but you may not be. I still very much believe that Travis Kelce is going to retire. He's a free agent. He'll be 37, and he has got a very lucrative future ahead of him in media, movies, talk shows, and analytical work on ESPN, Fox, wherever he chooses to go. I think that that's starting to pull him in that direction. And furthermore, I think from a football aspect, as unpopular as this take is, this is what I truly believe. I truly believe it is better for the Chiefs moving forward if they let this kind of fade into the ether and allow the goat-to-goat connection that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce were all these years to be in the past now, because of the fact that we have seen this offense rely so heavily on their mind meld. And now that Kelce is not the great player he once was, he's still very effective. I'm not sitting here saying he can't still play football. He can. He was still a top 10 or top 5 tight end this season. But he isn't the guy this offense can rely on as a number one option anymore. And I think as long as he's here, that is going to be the mentality between him and Patrick Mahomes. I think they need to have this severing of the ties, enjoy what the success they had before. I think it's the greatest duo we've ever seen. I really do. And start to move forward with some of these younger weapons and start getting that acclimation between Patrick Mahomes and some of these newer weapons and build new camaraderies, build new connections, and have Patrick Mahomes turn the page to where it is another piece or another pieces by committee that replace that once great connection between him and Travis Kelce. So I ask all that to ask this. Do you believe Travis Kelce is retiring? And if not, how is this all going to work out? Because we know the Chiefs have a ton of cap issues right now at this current time. How much money is it going to cost to bring a 37-year-old tight end back? And do you agree that he should be back?
Here's my thing when it comes to retirement. I will never say whether someone should or shouldn't. And here's why. I went to KU, and I was there when Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid. Yes, Rock Chalk. Amen to that. And here's something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way with KU fans. It's like, I remember all year long, we saw these mock drafts that had Wiggins and Embiid in the top 5. But you have all these KU fans who were like, no, stay. One more year of experience would be good for you. I'm like, really? Come on. Like, they're going to come back and pass up on millions of dollars when they're projected to go in the top 5. Like, come on. So I don't think we should ever be in a position to say what someone should or should not do. Here's what I will say, though. I think Kelce is going to come back. Let me step back. I think Kelce wants to play one more year because I know a lot of people have said this. He didn't end this the way anyone wanted the season to go with the Mahomes injury. But I think even more than that, when you look at Kelce this past year, he looked like he got a little younger. And we heard all off season about the work he's putting in, the weight he's lost, getting in better shape. And I think you saw that on the field. When you look at his average per reception, average yards per reception, it was higher this year than it was the year before. And I think that number did drop by a lot because Mahomes was not on the team anymore the last 3 games on IR. And it just, the offense just didn't operate as well as it should have. I think they still could have done some things better with 𝚂𝙿𝙸𝚂𝙾 and Buechele, but they just didn't. And Kelce was pretty quiet these last 3 games. I think, here's my opinion. If Mahomes was healthy, I think Kelce could have gotten his 1,000 receiving yards, but we'll never know. So I think Kelce will try to play one more year, but the salary cap is a real thing. And I'm glad you alluded to that because on overthecap.com, it's over $60 million right now. I mean, cutting Juwan Taylor, cutting Mike Dana, that's going to help, but you still have a lot more things you got to do. Maybe trading Trent McDuffie's on the table. Maybe Drew Tranquill could be one of those you don't want, but will be a cap casualty player on free agency this year. I don't know how you're going to continue to restructure Mahomes and Jones contracts. That just kicks the can down the road, but I suppose you can cross that bridge when you get there. And I know people make such a big deal that he's about to marry a billionaire. Yeah, but I still think players at the end of the day, I mean, this is not a charitable service. They still want to get paid. Kelce was severely underpaid for a long time in Kansas City. It wasn't until just the last 2 years where he was really making what he really deserved for a majority of his career. I think Kelce wants to play another year. I've said this many times since the offseason started. I don't know if there's going to be a very busy free agency for the Chiefs because the players that they want to try to re-sign, and I don't know who they're going to focus on, who they're going to let walk. It's not going to be easy. I don't know if they can make a big free agent splash this year unless they really do something with Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones contracts. It is going to be a difficult offseason. I think Kelce wants to play one more year. Is it feasible with Kansas City salary cap issues right now? That I can't say for sure.
That's totally fair, man. And to that point about Kelce, I just want to throw this in there. You know, one of the reasons why I've also stood on the you know, because I keep hearing all these people say, oh, he'll take a team-friendly deal. First of all, what is team-friendly? Because I don't know what that is. I mean, there's no definition of what a team-friendly deal is, especially for a player of this magnitude, you know, the greatest tight end who's ever played this game, a mogul, a figure like this. Because I'll be honest with you, I think Travis Kelce is the single most marketable player in the NFL. I think that based on the Taylor Swift situation he's got, you know, his relationship with her, which does matter, it brought a whole new set of fans to the NFL they didn't have before. And the fact that he's won the way he has, and he's, you know, a good-looking dude, and he dances, and he's been in movies, and he's doing shows, and his brother's super famous now. Like, all this stuff, he's so marketable. So that side of it alone is going to cost the Chiefs if they wanted to bring him back and they were trying to figure something out. Because marketability matters in the NFL. And if you're a marketable player, that's going to up your value to a team. Because, you know, jersey sales are going to stay there with his 87 jersey. People are going to come to games because he's there. Like, that happens. So it's not going to be one of these things where the Chiefs are getting him for $5 million. It's going to be at least $12 to $15 million. And to your point, they're going to have to get creative anyway on their cap situation with or without him. So yeah, to me, it doesn't at this time sound feasible. But my segue to this is, for 2 years now, look, dude, I try to consider myself a very humble individual. But damn it, I was the first one to do it, dude. I was the one that said over a year ago the Chiefs need to trade Trent McDuffie now more than ever this offseason because of the fact that, one, Brett Veach has drafted 15 defensive backs in his career as Chiefs GM. He's paid 0 of them. I don't think that's changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
Furthermore, Trent McDuffie's best seasons are within the first 5 years of his career, just like most cornerbacks, especially the high-end ones. You don't see most of those guys age well into their late 20s, early 30s. Most times they usually start playing nickel safety, and then they start to kind of wither away. We've seen even the best of them do that. I think Trent McDuffie's going to probably be one of those guys because he's an undersized slot corner at this point. We know that there's a lot of teams out there that liked him in the draft. The Chiefs had to trade up to get him to make sure that he didn't fall to one of those teams in the first round of the 2022 draft. And poetically enough, the Chiefs, the only reason they were able to get Trent McDuffie and trade up to get him is because they traded Tyreek Hill that offseason to get 5 picks in addition to make that possible. So I think it's poetry in motion that the Chiefs could do the same thing essentially, maybe not obviously with the same amount of draft picks in return, but they could utilize Trent McDuffie to get more picks because as we know, they only have 6 picks in this draft.
Yeah.
They need to get more picks. They need to retool this roster through the draft like Brett Veach has been doing for the better part of a decade now. And I think Trent McDuffie is that one chip that team, and we know this league loves cornerbacks. We just saw the Colts give up multiple firsts to go get Sauce Gardner. We've seen Jalen Ramsey get traded multiple times in his career for a lot of picks. We know this league loves corners because not every team has Patrick Mahomes. And this team, having an expensive quarterback like they have, you got to stay cheap somewhere. And when you're paying Chris Jones and Nick Bolton and guys like that, your defense is getting expensive quick, so they're not going to pay Trent McDuffie his market value of $28 million. That's not happening here in Kansas City. So trade him, maybe get a late first-round pick and a mid-round pick, or maybe get multiple middles. Whatever it is, it's not only they should consider it, they need to make this happen. So I ask you, Farzine, if you're running the Chiefs, so the Chiefs are coming to you right now, they're texting you, Brett Veach is on the phone. What the hell do we do here, Farzine? Do we trade Trent? Do we pay him? What do you say to that?
Yeah. Look, no one ever wants to see Trent McDuffie wear another team's jersey. No one wanted to see that with Tyreek Hill, Joe Tooney, L'Jarius Sneed. And I've always joked that like, these were issues the Chiefs did not have 15 years ago. And look, you've gotten to a point, and I'll answer your question. I know it sounds like I'm dodging it, but you've kind of gotten to a point where you made your center the highest paid at his position in league history. You made your guard the highest paid in league history. You gave Kelsey a big raise last year. Mahomes has the biggest contract of all time. Your kicker, Butker, is the highest of all time. Jones is the highest paid D tackle of all time. You can't just keep doing that. And I get it. You know, they've had some great draft picks over the years, especially outside of the first round. You just can't keep doing that realistically. And we saw this coming. Like, you know, at some point you're going to have a difficult time. I know a lot of people say, oh, well, the cap casualty is a myth. They can massage it. They can work around it. They can convert it to a signing bonus. I mean, they would have done that by now if that was really how it all worked. It is a challenge. It's not as easy as it looks. So, yeah, I think Trent McDuffie is going to be on the move. Again, not that you like it. Who would be willing to give up at least a 1 for him? I don't know. I think some teams saw Sauce Gardner and how the Colts gave up 2 1s for him, and unfortunately he dealt with some injuries. And I mean, there were plenty of things that happened with the Colts last year, but I don't know what a team would be willing to give up for Trent McDuffie. And yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, the Chiefs have had some good play at the quarterback position over the years, but they haven't made an effort to extend guys. And you mentioned them, Sneed, Peters, several others, Charvarius Ward. I will say this, in 2022, I was extremely nervous because the Chiefs had a bunch of rookies at the secondary. Brian Cook, Josh Williams, Najee Johnson, who I don't think played last year or that year due to injury. Josh Williams, McDuffie, of course. And they ended up doing fairly well. So that was a pleasant surprise. I would imagine. And by the way, to your point, yes, they have 6 draft picks for right now. I think there's a good chance they might get some compensatory picks for Justin Reid and Turk Wharton. So that's something to be aware of. And they might get more draft capital out of Trent McDuffie. I would not be surprised if you see a couple of cornerbacks, even multiple defensive backs, just in general, this draft class, if they can get some of that draft capital through compensatory picks and a McDuffie trade.
Well, let me throw a trade to you real quick, Farzine. I'm really putting you on the spot here, buddy, but I know you're ready for it. You asked what team would be willing. I have a team, and I have a perfect trade scenario. Like, I have the draft picks. Tell me if you would accept it or not. I think I know your answer to this, but I'm just going to ask anyway. This team has 2 first-round picks. They got one from the Falcons, It's the 13th overall right now. Chiefs aren't getting that one. But they also have the 29th overall pick. I'm talking about the Los Angeles Rams. If you know anything about that team, maybe the most complete team in the NFL.
Yeah.
But they do struggle at cornerback. They have the 29th overall pick, and they have, at this time, it looks like 10 picks. So if I was to say, let's say Sean McVay and his brass calls the Chiefs and says, we'll give you the 29th and the 167th overall pick for Trent McDuffie. Do you say yes?
Sorry, repeat that one more time. Which first round draft pick?
Oh, the 29th and then 167th overall pick, a 5th round pick.
I would like a 4th instead of a 5th, but it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say no to that. I was looking up the Rams salary cap situation while you were mentioning all of that, and I saw they have $46 million in cap space. So if they wanted to trade Trent McDuffie, that's doable. They've also got to think about paying Puka Nacua because that dude is insanely good, and he's due for a big deal very soon. But yeah, I think it's feasible for them to do. I think if you want to give up a low first, which is what I can't remember, was it McDuffie who was drafted first or Karlaftis?
No, I think it was McDuffie, 21st overall.
Yeah, so, it'd be somewhere around that range. Not that it matters at the end of the day. What matters is his performance on the field. And sure, he may not get a lot of interceptions, but he does the 9 other things perfectly well on the field for the most part. I know this was kind of a tough year for him in a couple of games, but I think the Rams certainly would do that. And I think the Chiefs would seriously consider that as well. I think Veach would try to push for a 4th instead of a 5th. Here's another team, and I'm looking at the first round, and I know this one would be very hard for them to give up, but what about the Bengals at 10? I mean, that team does not have a defense. Like, they desperately need help everywhere on defense. So maybe, and you would have back-to-back picks. Is that something the Chiefs would consider, and is that something the Bengals would be willing to accept? And I think they have some cap space as well, even though they've been spending a lot of money lately. I think they still have cap room. So, yeah.
Farzine, if let me put it like this. If the Chiefs get the 10th overall pick for Trent McDuffie, Brett Veach needs a statue. Because that would be the best trade imaginable, dude. I mean, because I love Trent McDuffie too. But if they could get a top 10 pick for Trent McDuff, dude, I'm building him the statue out of my own pocket because that would be the greatest trade imaginable. The Chiefs get a double dip in the top 10. Sign me up for it, dude. I just think, like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of options for the Chiefs here. I know the Buccaneers are a team that have been rumored. They don't have a first-round pick, so I'm not as interested in that one. I do think that, like you said, it's going to be tough to work with some of the AFC teams because I don't think that the Chiefs are lining up to trade, a 2-time All-Pro corner in the same conference they're in. But, if there's a team out there that offers them something like that they couldn't refuse, I mean, yeah, you pull that trigger. Now, there's a couple other things I want to get your thoughts on, Farzine. Dude, again, I really appreciate your time, man. I know you're a busy dude, so this means a lot to us.
Yeah, for sure, man.
The draft is obviously where we're focusing on here because, like I said, we're trying to get assets. You said that the Justin Reid situation can get them there. The Turk Wharton situation can get them a couple more picks. Obviously, I hope that's the case because I'm big on, since 2022, Brett Veach has changed my entire mentality on how you handle the draft. I want as many picks as possible. Give me 10+ picks every single year. That's how I see it. I think there's a real dividing line between this fan base and how they want to see this draft be attacked. There's the trend of Jeremiah Love being the guy that people want at number 9. I've heard people talk about Caleb Downs. I've shot both those down, pun intended, because when I look at this opportunity here, because Trevor and I were just talking about it, I'm hoping this is the only time in the Mahomes era the Chiefs are picking this low in the draft. So with that said, you got to look at this pick as we're getting a building block asset. We're getting a guy that we look at and say, for the next 8 to 10 years, this dude's the dude. And for me, I don't view running back and safety as said building block based on the way that position ages, the way that the Chiefs don't utilize running backs like other teams might. Because, like, I've asked this question to Trevor and some other people in person. I'm like, if the Chiefs were to take a running back at number 9 overall, how many touches would it take per game to justify that pick? Because if you look at any running back that was taken in the first round, let alone the top 10 in their careers, those guys are getting 25, 30 touches a game. So I don't think that's going to happen here in Kansas City under Andy Reid. We talk about, Andy setting his ways. Yeah, no shit. You should see how he handles the running back room. So
yeah.
I don't think that makes a lot of sense from a building block standpoint. I say all that to say this. I don't think there's any question in my mind the Chiefs have to go defensive end, at least defensive line at number 9 overall. There are guys that I'm really big on. I don't know if Ruben Bain's going to be there at 9. He might go earlier, especially the way that he played in this long run that the Canes just had in the postseason. Yeah. I think David Bailey's very realistic, and I love David Bailey. I think he'd be an awesome pick. I like Woods out of, I think, Auburn. Yeah. So there's guys out there that I think will be there at 9. The Chiefs have to take that chance on because as great as Veach has been at drafting DBs, he has had struggles at drafting guys on the interior defensive line, or the exterior as well. So you get this chance to go get a blue chip player at that position. This may not be the heaviest draft or the best, most talented draft, but you still got to take those shots. You still got to take that opportunity of getting that dude that you could build your defense around for the next decade. Where are you at on this, Farzine? Do you see it that way? We're like, nah, man, you gotta up this defensive line because they finished 18th and 21st of the last 2 years, or the last couple of years in sacks, and it's no question why they've had the issues they've had when in 2022 and 2023, when we went back-to-back Super Bowl championships, they went second in sacks. They need to get back to it. And I think the best way of doing that is go get your own Will Anderson. Go get your own Myles Garrett. And for the first time, that's not ridiculous because they have a pick close enough to where those guys went in their own respective drafts. Where are you at on this, Farzine?
No, I agree. I know Jeremiah Love is a really popular consideration, and I'm not against it at all. But in a perfect world, if by the grace of the football gods, somehow Ruben Bain Jr., David Bailey, and Jeremiah Love are there at 9, you gotta go Ruben Bain Jr. That dude looks like a monster truck just ready to run people over. And they were talking about it in the national championship game. Kirk Herbstreit was like, yeah, the offensive tackles, they're having a really rough go at it because of this guy. And you mentioned, I mean, he just was great this year for Miami. I don't think he'll be available, though. I think David Bailey is another valid player to look at. If those two are gone, man, there aren't a lot of really good options at the defensive line at 9. Here's what I will say, and I know you alluded to this. Yeah, 2023 was a remarkable year for that Chiefs defense. I think they were second in sacks behind Baltimore, and that sack production has drastically gone down. And I'll say this about the defense because they've been top 5 in total defense and points allowed each of the last 3 years. But this past year, I think they could have done themselves some favors with sacks and forced turnovers. And maybe you can help me out with this because I don't have this in front of me, but I remember in the Nick Bolton press conference after the season ended, somebody in the media mentioned, and maybe Bolton said this himself, where this was the worst the Chiefs have been when it came to sacks and takeaways for the season, something along those lines. As good as this defense has been when the offense has really struggled this year, that does need an improvement. So, yeah, I think it's important to figure out who you can have on the other side of George Karlaftis. I really do like Omar Norman-Lott. I had him on my mock draft last year in the second round, and I was excited when the Chiefs got him. He's got to stay healthy, though. When he's on the field, I think he can really help Chris Jones get away from being double-teamed. But unfortunately, we didn't see that. They tried that with Derek Nottie, didn't work. Mike Pennell came back. Just didn't really look the same. But I would not be opposed if Pennell came back as a backup for sure, as a guy in rotation for that defensive tackle position. They need some help at the edge for sure. I know they like Ashton Gelati, and I think he's someone that's going to be active in rotation with that Chiefs defensive line for sure, or maybe he becomes a starter. I don't know. But they really need help on that defensive line. If they do go Jeremiah Love, would not be my first option, but I'm not against it either because, and I know people get nervous about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and how things panned out with him. I don't think you can be shy about drafting a running back because it didn't work out with a guy previously. And I know we already beat this with a dead horse, but to go back to the Eric Bieniemy thing, every running back in Kansas City has really thrived under EB. You look at Jamal Charles, he was already a well-established running back, but he led the league, excluding kickers, he led the league in points scored in 2013. I think it was 19 touchdowns that year, if I recall correctly. And then when he went down with those injuries, Spencer Ware, Charkandrick West, they did really well. I remember in 2016, Spencer Ware was one of the better pass-catching running backs, which is huge in an Andy Reid-style offense. Kareem Hunt led the league in rushing his rookie year. So I think Eric Bieniemy will get the best out of those running backs. I would love to see Eric Bieniemy coach a guy like Jeremiah Love. But if it was up to me, in a perfect world, if it goes Kansas City's way, Reuben Bain Jr. would be my number one option. David Bailey would be another great option as well. And then Jeremiah Love. I know a lot of people are mentioning the wide receivers, Mekhi Lemon, and who's that wide receiver from Ohio State? Carnell Tate, I think.
Yeah,
I know a lot of
Jordan
people are
Tyson as well.
Yeah, a lot of people have been mentioning those names. Here's why I don't think Kansas City will do that. Not too long ago, they got Rashee Rice with a second-round pick. And not this past year, but the year before, they traded up to get Xavier Worthy. They've already been investing a lot in wide receivers early in the draft. I would be shocked if they got a wide receiver for the third time in the first 2 rounds in 4 years. I'd be really surprised if they did that.
I 100% agree with that. And let's just real quick, let's go off this scenario that the Chiefs obviously don't go Jeremiah Love. Let's say they go defensive end or defensive line or whatever the case is, and we're happy about that. You know, there are quite a bit good, like, quality named running backs in free agency this year. I think the Chiefs are going to snag one of these guys that are out there, whether it's Kenneth Walker, Rashad White, Tyler Algier, Breece Hall. Everybody out here in Kansas City loves them. Now, obviously, the market's going to dictate a lot of that because, you know, you talked about how the Chiefs are going to have to get really creative with their cap structure, bringing guys in. It's going to be very difficult to do. But let's say the Chiefs figure that out. Let's say they restructure Patrick Mahomes, Creed Humphrey. I don't think they're going to mess with Chris Jones's contract because that's too rich and he'll be 32 next year. But let's say they get, like, you know, $45, $50 million in restructures. They do cut Drew Tranquill, which I would agree with, saves about $6 million. They cut Mike Danis, saves about $9 million. You know, the Chiefs start, you know, adding some numbers here where they could start maybe going and getting a couple guys here and there. Of the running back situation out there, the free agents out there, are there some names out there that really intrigue you, Farzine, that you think are realistic acquisitions for the Chiefs? And how much of an improvement do you think that guy would be for this running back room that has been pretty damn depleted over these last couple of years?
Yeah, I don't know if it would be the most exciting name, but I think if the Chiefs were to try to develop maybe an unheralded running back in this free agency class, I kind of like Jerome Ford from the Browns. He has a 4.440. And I remember a couple of, what year was, I think it was 2024 when the Chiefs were destroying the Browns and their only touchdown was like a 60-yard run from Ford. And I know he had a couple of other big runs in his career. And he's fairly young too. I don't think he would be an expensive acquisition either. I know you mentioned hypothetically if they could figure out the salary cap situation. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, if he can stay healthy, that would be a big get. He's not young, but he's not terribly old either. He's still, you know, I think he'll be 27 this offseason or already is 27. Listen, I'm a big fan of Breece Hall. I've always liked him. I just think he's always been in a bad situation with the Jets, but I think he is going in for a big deal because my theory, and I know a lot of people have said this also, but the reason Brett Veach was not willing to give up a third-round pick for Breece Hall is they don't think they could have kept him long term. I mean, they don't want to give up a third for a rental. That would not have been good, especially, you know, given the way the season ended up going for Kansas City with all these injuries late in the season. I just think Breece Hall is going to go elsewhere where he's going to get a big deal. So Rico Dowdle is kind of an underrated guy too. I don't know if he would be someone that would demand a big contract, but that's someone I think the Chiefs would maybe target as well.
So you're of the belief that the Chiefs are probably going to try to bargain bin a little bit on the running back position because you don't think that they're going to be able to shell out that kind of cash to go get one of these top tier names.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, fair enough. That to me that I can live with that because I think the Chiefs are a move away from significantly improving this running back room. I mean, if you go to get Jerome Ford, which I also like, I'm a big fan of that guy. I think he's got talent as well, and he's also been in a bad situation. And they go and draft a guy in the third round, maybe one of the running backs out of Penn State. I think Singleton. You know, if they go get a guy like that, I think the running back room is fixed. Just like that, because you have still a developing player in Rashard Smith, who I like. I think he's shown some promise. I do think they're going to bring back Kareem Hunt for another year because he's that good short distance guy. He has a role and he plays it really well. And then all of a sudden you got 3-4 options right there that are legitimate. You're not relying on a broke down Isaiah Pacheco to be that quote unquote bell cow style running back. You have a committee of reliable assets that are still fairly young and a veteran in Kareem Hunt that can help steer the ship. So I'm with that, Farzine. I think that would be a great opportunity for the Chiefs to do that. So we've addressed all the Chiefs stuff now. Go ahead.
I was, because you mentioned Isaiah Pacheco, and I'm not saying this is a great idea. I truly don't know if this is something the Chiefs would do, but do you think with Bieniemy coming back, because he is familiar with Pacheco as well as Kareem Hunt, do you think he would campaign for the Chiefs to try to keep Pacheco? Because you got to keep in mind, Pacheco has not been good these last 2 years, and I know injury has played a role in that. So he might be a cheap option. And I think, he's also familiar with Eric Bieniemy. I just think that might be a route they take. At least it's on the table, I would imagine.
Yeah. I will say this as simply as I can. I don't want that. And the biggest reason why, dude, look, Trevor's going to get sick of me saying this because I've said it like 100 times on the show. Isaiah Pacheco was one of the last picks of his draft. And the fact that he was the starting running back for a back-to-back Super Bowl champion is unbelievable. Like, the chances of that happening is almost astronomically impossible. So anything the Chiefs have gotten out of Pacheco is an absolute bonus. And I appreciate so much what he's brought to this team. But it is time to end it because you can see it. He doesn't have the burst he once had, and maybe some coaching would help. And you might have a valid point there. But for me, I don't want to see this team invest another dime in a running back that's had the injuries he's had, that's just can't seem to find the gap sometimes. Because I think, honestly, I'm one of the few out there that defends this offensive line. I think the Chiefs' offensive line was pretty damn good this year, especially when you transition off of having maybe the greatest left guard this league has ever seen in Joe Thuney. And never once this season did any of us sit around and go, man, this offensive line misses Joe Thuney. Because Kingsley was good this year. He was actually good. He wasn't Joe Thuney, but he was good. Josh Simmons, when he played, was good. Creed's the best in the league at center. Trey Smith is a dog at right guard. Juwan Taylor has penalty issues, but he's a good right tackle when he's not getting in his own way. I say all that because I think that Pacheco wasn't doing them any favors, and it looked like it was in the inverse where it was in the offensive line giving those opportunities. Because when you saw Brashard Smith get opportunities, he made some plays. When you saw some of these other guys get opportunities, even Kareem Hunt himself, as old as he's become, he could make plays with this offensive line. I think Pacheco has run his course. I think he's a 7th-round pick. You got as much as you could out of his body, and I think it's over. I mean, I don't know how you see it, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I don't disagree too much. And it's unfortunate because, the Jamal Charles injury, that certainly hurt. And I think that ended his time sooner than anyone wanted in Kansas City. And they eventually get Kareem Hunt. They thought, hey, he led the league in rushing. He's going to be good. We know how that ended the first time. Then they, used Damian Williams, but he had issues staying healthy. You add Pacheco, and Pacheco was great his first 2 years. But I would argue the 2023 postseason was kind of the start of his decline, which is, kind of disappointing because at one point I kind of thought, I was like, maybe this guy could be Kansas City's running back for 5, 6, maybe 7 years. But now we kind of find ourselves in this situation. It's like, okay, is it Brashard Smith? Is it Jeremiah Love? Can they maybe get more out of Kareem Hunt, reuniting him with Bieniemy? Because I know Bieniemy was really upset when the whole thing with Hunt went down I think he was really excited to work with him for as long as possible, but obviously Hunt has aged a lot since then. So, yeah, we'll see. The running back position, I think you've got to find the best you can, and maybe the best option would be Jeremiah Love because you're not spending a lot of money there. But the Chiefs have more pressing matters with the defensive line, in my opinion. But you've got to find a balance on that offense for Patrick Mahomes, especially we don't even know for sure if he'll play in Week 1. I think he probably will. Obviously, he's going to push for it, but a balance would certainly help coming off that ACL tear.
Absolutely, man. Now, we've addressed, I feel like, as much as we can on the Chiefs side of things. Before we get you out of here, dude, I want to get your thoughts on the conference championship games that we have coming up on Sunday, because I feel like we have this one game that is just going to be janky and clunky and weird because you got a quarterback for the Broncos that hasn't thrown a single pass in an NFL game in 2 seasons versus this up-and-coming star in Drake May who's had his own issues in the postseason. That's going to be a really weird game to gauge, and Trevor and I are going to talk about it in a second. But then you have this juggernaut, Foreman-Frazier-esque type of matchup between the Seahawks and the Rams, in my opinion, is the real Super Bowl. I want to get your thoughts here, man. And feel free to cook on them if you want. How do you see these two matchups going, man?
I said both AFC games last week were going to be low scoring, and that did not age well at all. and I'm going to do it to myself again. I think it's going to be low scoring between the Broncos and the Patriots. Look,
so
I know
47.
There you go. Bet on it now that I said it. I know with the Patriots, like everyone talks about Drake May, and rightfully so. But I don't think a lot of people are giving that the Patriots defense credit. Like, sure, they played a really bad Chargers team that didn't have a good offensive line at the playoffs. Like, I get it, but man, just the way they've showed up in games defensively, I don't think gets enough attention, in my opinion. And then the Broncos. Let me just say this about the Broncos, because you mentioned Jarrett Stidham going to play for the first time in forever. I don't know if it really matters that much. And that's crazy to say because Bo Nix had a hell of a game outplaying Josh Allen in a game that went into overtime. And I know Allen had his issues with turnovers and whatnot, but look at the Broncos this year. They've had a lot of one-score games, and they've had a lot of ugly wins. I mean, I still remember that Thursday night football game when they beat the Raiders 10-7. And I remember thinking the Chiefs have got a chance for the following week to beat the Broncos. Unfortunately, we know how that went. And then, against Kansas City on Christmas, Kansas City has a bunch of practice squad guys out there, including at quarterback, and they only won by a touchdown. So I still think at the end of the day, does losing Bo Nix hurt? Yes. But I still think that offense has its issues, and it's going to be that defense that'll try to win for them. Now, even if Bo Nix was available in a low-scoring game, it usually comes down to which offense can take advantage of a defense that's tired of coming through and being forced to come up with stops. In that situation, I would rely on Drake May. You kind of saw that in the Chargers-Patriots game in the wild card round where, yeah, both offenses were fairly quiet, but Drake May was able to get the offense moving late in that one to pull away from the Chargers. I would not be surprised if it's very similar to that front. So I think the Patriots will win the AFC Championship game. The NFC one, yeah, I agree with you. And I loved your analogy right there with the boxing there. I mean, that is going to be the main event of Championship Sunday, and I'm excited to see how that goes. Listen, I really like the Rams. I love the story with Stafford because 10 months ago, everyone thought Stafford was done with the Rams, and here he is, still playing at a very high level. Might be the MVP. It's going to be either him or Drake May. For my vote, it's Stafford, but we'll see. Devontae Adams, it's nice to see his little resurgence after a great career in Green Bay. Kind of disappeared in the Raiders, and now here he is in LA having a lot of fun with Puka Nacua and everyone else in that crew. But I really love Sam Darnold's story as well and what he's been able to do with that offense, Jackson Smith and Jigba, that entire unit. And I think Mike McDonald has done a tremendous job in arguably the toughest division in all of the NFL this season. Man, I don't know. This one is very hard to predict. I'm going to go with Seattle. I know a lot of people are picking the Rams because they feel like that Rams offense is going to be maybe a little too much for the Seahawks to handle, but I can't pick against Seattle at home. So I'm going Patriots and I'm going Seahawks. Rematch of Super Bowl 49, I think it was. So yeah, I'm going with that one.
That was a crazy game in itself. So if that matchup reoccurred, I'm expecting fireworks, my dude. Farzine, dude, it sucks. I mean, I'm happy, but I'm also kind of upset that I'm happy because this has been awesome. Like, you brought incredible stuff to us. We very much appreciate it. It just sucks that it took this damn long, dude. Because you've been doing great work. We've been trying to do as best as we can here, and for us to finally unify here, dude, it feels awesome. I just wish it would have happened sooner, but that's the only regret I have here, dude. Before you get out of here, though, if you'd be so kind. And not that you need to do it, because I know a lot of people out there know who you are, but maybe somebody for the first time is hearing and watching you, and they just have to be on our show. Let them know where they can find you on all social platforms when you go live. Basically, just go ahead and just tell everybody everything they need to know about you and where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And this has been a lot of fun. Would love to do it again sometime. If people just want to search the Chief Zone on YouTube, that's how they can find my podcast. Otherwise, on other podcasting platforms, just search my name, Farzine �y'Vasugian. Just spell it like you hear it. That's all.
That's fair. And I nailed it. I just said his name right, so I'm gonna continue to build off that. Call me Butter. I'm on a roll here, dude.
I've been on some podcasts, and they'll ask me, they're like, "How do you say your name?" And I'll tell them, and then 10 seconds later, when they hit record or go live, they butcher it. And I try not to chuckle. In my head, I'm like, we just went over that. I'll say this: this was a long time ago, but there was a sports station in Miami. They had me on. Because they were doing a partnership with Cover 32, which no longer exists, but it was supposed to be, they were trying to be like Bleacher Report at the time, but it has been defunct. But anyway, the producer for that station called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm just calling you because we need to know how to pronounce your name." And that's it. Just called me just for the pronunciation of my name, which, hey, listen, I respect that. I mean, I'll go through like these lists of teams that the Chiefs are preparing for, and I'll look at these players. I'm like, how in the hell do you say this guy's name? And I'll go on YouTube and see if I can get like a pronunciation from the announcers. And even the announcers will like just say the first name. Like, great, now I can't figure out how to say this guy's name, so I'm going to sound like an idiot trying to pronounce it. So, no, you nailed it. You are in a small group of people that knows how to pronounce my name. Thank you for doing that.
Dude, I feel special in saying that. And look, Trevor and I, we have very weird last names as well. Twidwell. People have called us Twitter, Tweety Bird, Tweedwell, Tidwell, pretty much anything and everything but the right name. So, brother, we can very much relate to you in this regard. And I just, like I said, us awkward last names, weird last name guys have to unite here, dude, because that's all we got here, dude, is our name.
What drives me nuts is whenever I'm at a Chiefs game or a Royals game, if someone recognizes me, they'll come up and say hi, which I always appreciate. And then they'll say, "Man, 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺, I love your podcast." I'm like, "Thanks," but I introduce myself at the start of every show, and I sure as hell don't say 𝚂𝙿𝙾.
That's almost like borderline like a justified assault at that point. That's like on-site shit. You know what I mean? Say the man's name right, damn it. Is not asking too much. It's 𝚂𝙿𝙾, damn it. Have some respect on this man's name. And speaking of respect, 𝚂𝙿𝙾, we vehemently respect you here, dude. We're big fans of you. Keep kicking ass. Keep doing great work, dude. And I mean it when I say whenever we can get you back on, we got to have you back on, dude, because this has been one of the funnest shows we've had in a long time, dude. So thank you so much for your time, dude.
Yeah. By the way, before I get out of here, and I don't mean to hijack your show, do you know Joe Doherty?
I know the name, yeah.
Okay. I thought you guys were I thought you guys knew each other personally. I wasn't sure, but because I remember at one point I think he mentioned knowing you, but I thought maybe you guys knew each other. Maybe you guys just know each other through the internet. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah. He went to KU as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, tall white guy. Yeah.
We went to school together.
Dude, that's been ages ago. Oh my God. Yeah, Joe. So you're friends with Joe?
Yeah. We actually did a radio show at KU when I got accepted in 2012. We did a summer show. And super, super nice guy. Very knowledgeable when it comes to college basketball, NBA. He loves that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget. I'll say this real quickly about Joe. My car. So I was a student at KU at the time, and it was, I think, October. So I had only known Joe for like 4 months. And my car breaks down. I have a job at Johnson County Community College as the public address announcer, but I can't make it. And I'm calling every single KU person I know see if they can help me. The only person that was willing to come over was Joe. That's the only guy. Unfortunately, we weren't able to figure out what the issue was, but damn it, man, the fact that he got off of whatever the hell he was doing to come help me, I was like, I greatly appreciated that. So I figured you guys knew each other, so I just wanted to give him a shout out. So yeah, Joe's a cool dude.
Yeah, we went to a school called Muncie. With Joe, that's where we met him. Obviously, he was already there, but I think he went there before we did.
Yeah,
and he was always one of the guys we talk sports with. I remember that he was a very knowledgeable dude. So if you talk to him again, man, tell him that we said what's up, and maybe I should just hit him up, dude. It's been years since I've talked to Joe, man. It's been a long time. It's a great dude, man. It's small freaking world, dude. It's like this was bound to happen, 𝚂𝙿𝙾, dude. I mean, or 𝚂𝙿𝙾, whichever one you want to be called at this. Just kidding, dude. But nevertheless, dude. You've been the best, dude. I really appreciate your time. Everybody, please go follow our guy 𝚂𝙿𝙾, dude. You're one of the best out there, and I mean that. And whenever you'll come back, we would gladly accept to have you back, dude, because you've been awesome, dude. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Keep up the good work, and let's keep in touch. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you so much, 𝚂𝙿𝙾.
All right,
thanks,
guys. Take care.
𝚂𝙿𝙾 for Duke. Here I am. I said his name right now. I say it wrong. What the hell, Lance? Either way, our guy 𝚂𝙿𝙾 is one of the best out there, guys. You know why I said he's one of the few out there that, like I said, gives you he doesn't feel bought and paid for. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys out there that kind of have to play within the rules. Farzine's not one of those guys. He makes his own rules, and we respect that. We're the outlaws out here, damn it. This is the Wild West in the Chiefs community, and he's one of the ringleaders out here, dude. So we appreciate his time. Please go follow our guy Farzine, dude. He's a very knowledgeable dude, awesome guy, not a sensationalist. He comes out with facts, opinions of his own, and that's why we respect him. That's why we're definitely going to have him back more often, guys, because he's a good dude. So shout out to our guy Marcus Dash for bridging the gap as well, because Farzine and I didn't know each other, and our guy Marcus Dash reached out and made this whole thing connect. So shout out to my guy Dr. Dash for making this happen, dude. So what were you gonna say, Trevor? I don't know if you said.
No, I was saying that was good shit, bro.
Hell yeah, man, awesome, dude. We could have. He's one. Like I said, we have like some of our buddies, man. We're like, man, we could have had a 3-hour show just now. Oh, yeah. That's with Farzine. That's how Jim Rome does the rack'em. We racking right now with Farzine, dude, because he'd have been one of those guys.
Got some beers with him.
No, Nate, you know what? We would need to, because now that I know that Farzine's a local dude, we need to have him out, man. That'd be cool to have
hit up Joe too, bro.
No shit, dude. Doherty, hit us up, bro. Let's let's have a whole KU connection over here.
World, bro.
But yeah, we appreciate that again, Farzine. We very much appreciate you, brother. Trevor, before we get to the people, and I promise you guys, I know you've been patient enough, and we're gonna get to your questions. I do want to get our conference championship predictions in, man, and I want to start with you. Let's start on the AFC side of things. That is the first game of the schedule. Patriots going to Denver. Jarrett Stidham is getting the start for the Broncos. I have a feeling I know where you're going, but I do want to hear it nevertheless. If you do have a score, drop it on us. If not, totally cool. We'll give those to you guys on Sunday. But Trevor, who do you got in the Patriots-Broncos game?
Yeah, I'm picking the Patriots. It's honestly pretty clear. I think the injury to Bo Nix definitely matters here. I know Farzine said that there's a chance that it might not matter as much because that offense is kind of a system, and Bo Nix operates that system pretty well. And Sean Payton, to his credit, is a good coach in this league, and he did a great job at managing the panic of losing your starting quarterback going into the AFC Championship game. He managed that really well. I felt like he was propping up Stidham immediately, and I respect that. The fact that he kind of just rolled right into it and just let everybody know, that was a pretty cool approach. I like that out of Sean as a head coach there, but Stidham ain't that dude, man. Let's be very honest right now. I think he has a good arm. I've seen him play. When he has played, he's got a rocket arm. But to Farzine's point, was going to be my point, is this Patriots defense is just not getting the credit that it deserves. Right. This Patriots defense has been awesome all year.
Yeah.
Their special teams is probably top 3 in the league. They have a great special teams, good returners. They're really good on the opposition side and with their gunners and everybody, not allowing big returns on them. So there's a lot more than just the Drake May hype, which I'm sold. I've been I was early to that party. And Drake May definitely has his issues, hold on to the ball too long, lack of pocket awareness with the strip sacks and so on and so forth throughout the season, not just last game that we all kind of saw. I just don't. I know he thinks this game's gonna be lower scoring. I do too, to a degree, for one team. I think the Broncos are gonna get. I think that offense has no shot, in my personal opinion. And I think Drake May could go put up 30 on that defense, though. I think the way that they move the ball, they spread the ball around. We saw Pop Douglas score against the Texans last week. Yeah. Immediately, that was a quick Pop Douglas score. Stephon Diggs is just doing his job, moving the sticks, being a good possession receiver. Big play when need be. Kayshon Boutte showed up big last week. They move the ball around. They use different guys in different ways. Obviously, Hunter Henry is always a threat to score in the red zone. He's kind of been the go-to guy in the red zone. And their duo in the running back room has been really good lately. So I just think that the Broncos are outmatched here. I think the Patriots have been the better team all year. I know the Broncos have the better record. They've had a lot of fluky games this year. I think everybody knows that. And I'm not poo-pooing the Broncos defense by any means. That is an elite unit. But the Patriots just put up a decent amount of points against a better unit last week. And I know there is the factor of them going to Denver this time rather than the Broncos going to Foxborough. That is definitely a factor, because going in there with the elevation, that's a tough place to play for anybody. And those fans are going to be, those fans are going to be as hype as they've been since Peyton Manning was here.
Sure.
Right? Because not only the fact that they know they need to rally around a guy who's getting his first start in years.
Yeah.
It's the biggest game of for these fan base in years. But just the fact that they're there. Patrick Mahomes is out of the way. This is a moment that they can really seize and maybe somehow find a way to get to a Super Bowl and possibly win one.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. I think the Patriots are better. I think that they're a better coach team. I think Vrabel has been the best coach in football this year, in my opinion. I know schedule-wise, whatever, you can talk about, they played the cards they were dealt, and the vibes over there, I'll talk about it again. I talked about it last week. The way those guys are playing for Vrabel is unique.
Yeah.
Not every coach has that kind of camaraderie and that kind of aura with his players, and it's a real thing over there right now. And I think it's been contagious. I think they overcame. There was a lot of moments in that game last week against the Texans where they could have just, like, with the turnovers and Drake May having down moments, they rally. They rally around him. They believe in Drake May, and he made up for it.
Yeah.
Big plays down the stretch and won that game. And this defense is awesome. I know everyone's talked about the hype of the Broncos defense and the Texans defense, but this Pacers defense has been awesome all year too, man. And I think Stidham's got a long night in for him, and I think the Patriots win this one handily, actually.
Like we talked with Farzine, and obviously we set it up to get his thoughts on it because you and I were going to give ours anyway. The thing I keep looking at in this game is how much of a difference is it going to be between Nix and Stidham? Because even though obviously Nix is the better quarterback, you know where I stand on Bo Nix. And again, I'm going to give him every ounce of credit for what he did against the Bills.
Yeah.
He had an awesome game, and that's
secondaries of football.
And that was the biggest game to date in his career because we saw him a year ago get shellacked by the Bills in Buffalo.
He proved that he has the internal fortitude, but he's not the most skilled guy.
Yes,
but he showed that he can rise up.
He could make some plays. That throw to Mims was unbelievable.
Dude. Yeah,
a great throw.
Yeah.
So, with that said, though, we also know, like you just said a little bit, Nix has his limitations. And Stidham, although does have an arm, things of that nature, is coming into this game insanely rusty. The biggest spot of his career by far.
At home, man, big moment. Fans are going to be rooting for you.
So even though there's not this massive drop-off, in my opinion, from Nix to Stidham, and obviously Sean Payton believes in Stidham because he paid him a ton of money to come to the Denver Broncos last year, I can't in any good conscience pick the Broncos in this game.
Yeah.
Look, if Bo Nix was playing, I would have to really think about it because I'm thinking like, okay, home field, coming off a big win against the Bills like that, they're confident as hell. They got their starting quarterback building off that type of like legacy win. Yeah, like there would be a real conversation for me to be like, but when it comes to games like this, there's a reason why the Nick Foles story is so. It was so big unique. Because that never happens.
Yeah. Especially against the GOAT.
And to that point, Nick Foles in himself was a respected starter for portions of his career. Stidham hasn't been. Yeah. And like you said, and Farzine's been saying, which is 100% accurate, the most underrated thing about this Patriots team is their defense. They don't get nearly enough credit because the story is Drake May.
Yeah.
The story is Mike Vrabel. You know what I mean? Stephon Diggs. Like, those are the guys that get all the attention. Meanwhile, Christian Gonzalez and this team on the defensive side are humming. They're dominating. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this game. I think their defense scores a touchdown in this game. I think Jarrett Stidham either throws a pick six, there's a fumble recovery, things of that nature. And I'll go a step further. I think Drake May is going to terrorize this Broncos defense. And it's not because this defense isn't awesome. That defense is damn good. Yeah. But the Bills showed you things in that game that you can expose, and you best believe that Josh McDaniels is going to expose those things. Yeah. The Patriots, they do lack certain things in their weaponry, but I think in this game, the one thing the Broncos can get got at is play action. And that is something you saw the Bills utilize in certain portions of that game. Utilizing the play action because the Patriots, like the Bills, can run the ball. So I think the Patriots are going to utilize that. They're going to be very opportunistic on defense. I think they win this game by double digits. Yeah. I think it's going to be a 26-13 game. No offense to Jarrett Stidham. He's not ready for this. He's not. And if I'm wrong, I'll stand up here and hold the L next week. But I just cannot. In every way I've looked at this game, in any scenario, the only way I see the Patriots losing this game is if Drake May gets hurt. Mm-hmm. Straight up. And even then, I could see the Patriots still winning. Yep. So I'm going to pick the Patriots comfortably, dude, like you are.
30-18. So, I like I said, handily, 30-18, at least 10 by 10 points. And I know Farzine was talking about this being a lower scoring game. That's what the Broncos are hoping for.
That's the only chance they have.
Because you don't want Stidham out there trying to chase points, bro.
No way.
And this Patriots defense has been really good when teams are forced to do that. That's what I'm saying. And they're good at getting pressure with four.
Yeah.
And their secondary has been really good. They have one of the best cornerbacks in football. This feels like it's very unfortunate. either way, I was picking the Patriots even if Bo was playing.
Yeah.
Because I trust the Patriots defense to play really well, and I trust a big bounce back spot for Drake May. He struggled really bad last week and made a couple big plays that were enough to win the game, but he was struggling. And listen, that was the best defensive football he just beat last week, right? So let's be very honest. That's a tough spot, even at home or not. That Texans defense has been just wrecking people's lives and haunting people's dreams.
Yeah.
So he beat them, and this is another good defensive unit, not as good in my opinion. So he doesn't have to face as gnarly as a defensive front that he just did last week. So I think this is a great bounce back spot for Drake May for sure.
All right, John Harrison says Stidham was in New England and they went out and got Cam Newton, who could not throw over 10 yards. I'm assuming he's saying he's a backup for a reason. 100% correct.
Yeah.
So
this is a tough spot for him, man. This is about as tough as it gets.
Our guy Mike Hayes wanted to add on to the Farzine part of the show. He said, good pod. Farzine had some really good takes that he could back up. Y'all got to bring the dude back on soon.
Absolutely.
Trust me when I say that's going to happen, guys. He's one of the best guests we've ever had. Trevor, our NFC side of things, the later game of Sunday, Seahawks are hosting the Rams. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is the best possible matchup we could have gotten. As I told Farzine, as I told Farzine, I think this is the real Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think this is obviously the two juggernauts of the remaining playoff teams. I'm really excited about this one, dude. Really, really excited about this one because I got some real thoughts on this one. I know you do as well, which I'm handing it off to you. How do you see this one going, man?
Man, this is a big one. I have to roll with the Rams here. I'm going to pick the Rams, but will not be surprised if it goes either way here, man, because I do think this is a great matchup for both teams. We've seen it before. We've seen these teams match up already, and it's been fireworks. I love the Sam, like Farzine said, I love the Sam Darnold story. His back-to-back seasons with these two different teams and having success and failing last year and getting a chance to, a redemption story here for him this year. I think JSN is an incredible talent. I think Puka's an incredible talent. Tavante's a premier legend in this game. So many cool matchups in this one, man. Both good defenses. These are probably the two best. It's crazy. All year long, these have been the two best rosters in football.
Yeah.
Right? And now here they are battling out to who can make the big game, man. And it's it's really cool. This is a great matchup, and I'm excited. I have to pick the Rams here, though, and I don't know. I have a weird feeling this one could be like the lower scoring game. Because I know that's kind of how it was with the Bears-Rams game last week. It wasn't a high-scoring game. It wasn't some massive shootout. The Bears struggled pretty much for a lot of it. Neither team was really impressive offensively. Granted, snowy game, kind of windy. That can be expected. I honestly expected the Rams to score a lot more points, but they didn't. Managed to win that game. It was a close one. But yeah, I got to go Rams here, kind of just trusting my pick since obviously the beginning of the year I picked the Packers to go Super Bowl. That obviously fell apart, but I did like the Rams a lot outside of the Packers. I thought the Rams were the best chance of making it again, and I think there's a lot riding on Stafford's legacy here too. He wants to make it again, maybe go get another ring. That'd be huge for him. Obviously, Sam Darnold's story, going to get him being on so many different teams and being a backup at times and then whatever, seeing ghost narrative thing, all these things he's kind of overcome. So I'm very proud of him for what he's done and how he's put himself in this position to be here again for another chance to redeem himself and his story and his legacy personally. So I love it. I won't be mad if whoever wins. I don't have any personal inclination to who I think should win. Who I think is going to win is the Rams because I just trust Sean McVay. I trust he's been here. He's done it. Granted, there were some suspect things he did last game against the Bears. I felt like he made that game closer than it should have been just by some decisions that he did. And I think
not running the ball?
Oh, yeah. And then going forward on fourth downs when you could just take your point, whatever. Just certain things that I just didn't like. He was kind of be overly aggressive against a team that wasn't on their level. Just stop playing with your food and take care of business.
Yeah.
I think he corrects some of that. Granted, he's going to have to. This is a game where points are going to come to a premium. At a premium, I'm picking the Rams by 3 points. I don't know what score it'll be. I think it's going to be a field goal. Who decides it? Could go to OT. This is just a absolute clash of the Titans here, man. And I just hope for a good game, if anything. But I think it'll be a tight one through and through. These are two great rosters going at it. Two really good head coaches. One already Hall of Fame coach in my mind. One working on a great resume as he's becoming a notable name in this league too. So picking Rams here.
So as I said, this is the real Super Bowl. And I also say that because I believe that whoever wins this game is winning the Super Bowl. These are the two best teams in the NFC. I don't even know if it's close.
Yeah.
And these teams match up with each other so well. I think they're the two most complete teams in the NFL. The Seahawks obviously have the number 1 defense and the number 3 scoring offense. The Rams have the number 1 scoring offense, I think the 6th or 7th scoring defense. So I don't know if we could have gotten a better matchup at any level of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a great matchup. And it's also awesome because it's a divisional matchup. Like, these teams know each other so well. And they've already played 2 games that were insane. And as our guy John Harrison said, the last time they were in Seattle, the Rams led 30-14 with 12 minutes left, and they didn't finish it.
Yep.
And he also mentions the over-under on the Rams game is 47.5, bet the over. I agree with John on that. I actually think this is going to be another high-scoring game. Because these teams, once again, yes, when defenses know the offense really well, that's true. That can be a deterrent from a lot of scoring. But the weather's supposed to be pretty. I'd say it's supposed to be in the 40s, clear skies, no rain, no snow, no nothing like that. And I hate it when the weather dictates games. And I think that had a lot to do with the Bears game. I agree with you. Obviously, you and I were watching that game together, the Bears-Rams, and I was getting pissed at McVay for some of the stupid things he was doing.
Right.
He's not having another game like that. McVay is one of those coaches that learns and adapts. I wish some other people would take that as well. But the Rams are going to win this game. And it's going to be the reason why I'm picking the Rams in this game, it's not because Seattle can't do it. Because, the narrative has been around Sam Darnold, can he play big? Can he do the right thing? And that's a fair thing because we've seen him choke in big games. Yeah. And I don't think the Niners game taught us anything about Sam Darnold as far as like what he can be in big moments because they didn't really need him. They won the game on the first play of the game. Shaheed took it to the house. If they didn't score again, they win 7-6. Yeah. So it wasn't like Sam Darnold was the reason they won that game or even close to it. But we have seen a maturity in Sam Darnold this year. I think there's more of a calmness. Like I think for the first time in his career, he feels like he belongs. And that does matter in this league, especially when you play a position like the quarterback position. You have to feel like this is my team. This is my city. And I think that Seattle has really embraced him because I think when Minnesota got Sam, it was like this, is he the guy? Like, are we going to pay him? There was like that question. In New York, it's just a shit show over there, so we know how that went. In Seattle, he's paid.
Yeah.
In Seattle, he's their guy.
Yeah,
so there's a
being
calmness
believed
there.
in is like a superpower to you.
Yeah, so I'm not picking against the Seahawks, if that makes sense. I'm picking the Rams because this is the team I believe in more. Because these two teams are so equally aligned, and they know each other so well, so the question becomes, which quarterback head coach duo do you trust more? Which one are you going with more? Yep. If you're in the battle, which one would you rather have on your side? Right. And as much as I like Mike McDonald, I like Sean McVay that much more because this dude's proven that he can do it. He's won a Super Bowl and just so happened won that Super Bowl with the quarterback he's still got, Matt Stafford, who will win MVP, by the way. So, and you're right also, but the fact that Stafford knows this is a legacy run.
Yeah.
If he wins the MVP and wins the Super Bowl, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He could retire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he will, for the record.
He will either, but I mean, it'd be a great opportunity to.
It's right off of the sunset.
Bro, yeah.
It's the Travis Kelce desire. You know what I mean? Like,
just go chill with the fans.
It would make a lot of sense. I think he is back, though, next season because of how great he's still playing, but that's another conversation for another time. Yeah. The point I'm making is the Rams are coming into this game with the better head coach quarterback duo, with the equal, playing field of the teams. But it's also the fact, dude, that I know that Panthers game was frustrating and the Bears game was even more frustrating. But it's what the Rams are doing in the crucial situations that are look at a lot of these Super Bowl runs that we've seen in just recent memory. Look at the Chiefs. Every single win, they were down like double digits in 2019, 2022, 2023 was ugly as shit, and they just fought their way to a Super Bowl. No game on those runs was sexy. Yeah. Like they were hard-fought battles. Most times they were trailing and they had to claw back. Sometimes Patrick Mahomes didn't play well. Same with Matt Stafford this year. Played like shit against the Panthers in large portions. Found a way to win the game. Devontae talked about how I was gangster as hell, what Stafford said at the end of the game about snatching their soul. Yeah. Then they go into Bears and torrential, disgusting snow and cold and frigid temperatures in a hostile environment. Caleb Williams has a fadeaway jumper from 40 yards out.
Caleb does some things that Sam Darnold can't.
Dude, if that would have happened to any other team, the Bears win that game. Straight up. That is remember I even said it. I was like, dude, the Bears are probably going to win now.
Yeah.
And what did the Rams do? They went out there.
Bro. Yeah.
They went out there and made the plays on defense with Curl intercepting Caleb, and then Stafford had the drive. They got him in field goal range and iced the game. And I predicted that shit too. And I said walk-off field goal by the Rams. That is exactly what's going to happen in this game.
In those kind of moments, Stafford's one of the greatest to ever do it.
Dude, of all quarterbacks in the NFL,
top 3 in game-winning drives.
Yes, in all time, dude. I think he's 6th all time in fourth quarter comebacks and like 5th all time in game-winning drives. Dude is clutch as hell.
I mean, yeah.
So that is they're going to keep it going again. The Seahawks are going to have this back and forth battle between them, like where Sam Darnold's making plays, JSN's doing his thing, Kenneth Walker's getting plays, things like that. It's going to be an X factor too. The Charbonnet's out, so they got to watch out for that too, because even more emphasis on Kenneth Walker.
Our guard John Harrison chimes back in and says, "This is a good point too. Stafford threw for 457 yards last time. Seattle had 3 turnovers, and the Rams still managed to lose. I don't think that happens.
No." And Sam Darnold had 4 picks in a game against them as well. So that's what I'm trying to say, dude, is that it's going to come down to which quarterback gets it done more, makes more plays, which coach out-schemes the other one, because let's be real, to this point, all the way back to Mike McDonald's days with the Ravens, Sean McVay has owned his defenses.
Yeah.
Owned him. Now, McDonald's done great against Shanahan, but has not had the same success against McVay. Also, I want to give this credit to McDonald as well. I heard the Seahawks beat reporter was on 96.5 The Fan today. He said that in rematches, Michael McDonald is 7-0 as a head coach. So that is something to consider. The Seahawks could win. Yes, the Seahawks could win this game. But if you're asking me, who do I trust more? Because we know this game's going to be tight.
Yeah, you're dealing with greatness here.
This is I guarantee you. One thing I will guarantee about this game.
We're talking greatness.
Yes,
great.
One thing I will guarantee about this game is it will be a 1-possession game.
I agree. That's why I said by 3 points.
So, yes. So, if it comes down to something of that, when it's going to come down to a play or a couple plays, I am clearly giving the advantage to Stafford and McVay.
Yeah.
So, I believe this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Stressful game.
It's going to be a fun game to us.
Yeah.
It's going to be very stressful for both teams. But I'm picking the Rams to win this one 34-31. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm with John Harrison on this. I'm hammering the over. Okay. I think both teams are going to get their points, and I think Stafford has another heroic drive at the end of the game. Maybe the Seahawks have a 31-27 lead. And then he takes their soul again. He takes another soul and gets himself to another Super Bowl. That's what I'm picking. We're on the same picture on both. We're on the same page on both of these matchups. Maybe scores are a little bit different. We'd love to hear from you guys, because it is perfect time to do it, because it is now time for Speak It. Drop them. Sure, what we got?
All right, so we got to a few of them earlier in the show. Took a couple of those out, but we only got a couple in here now. Our guy Micah Hayes says, if QB Stidham plays good, should the Chiefs be interested in signing him as the backup?
No, I mean, I don't even know what his contract is. I think he might still be under contract with the Broncos, but sure. I mean, if Stidham is available and he doesn't cost the Chiefs an arm and a leg, yeah, why not? I mean, he's a solid backup for a reason. Sean Payton believes in him. I think he's got talent. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the market's going to be, the Chiefs are going to be paying attention to the quarterback market, because even though I'm very confident Patrick Mahomes will be back, he is coming off a knee injury, and you want to have some assurance. We know that Andy Reid likes to have veteran quarterbacks behind Patrick Mahomes. Stidham, I think, is 28 now. So something like that. He's not like a second-year player, basically. So I would say he would fit the criteria, but it's going to come down to money and if he's even available. I don't know. John, look that up for me if you can.
Yeah, we'll see. And the only other question we got here is from Noah John Marshall, who says, What is your realistic worst case for next year after Pat recovery, EB 1 year in, draft, free agency, Kelsey decision, new staff? Hard to imagine worse than 6 wins, but ish happens, and what chance it would happen?
Well, my biggest fear is more of the same of what happened in 2025. I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to win 6 games next year, but the stubbornness and the unwillingness from Andy Reid playing a real factor in the Chiefs and being a detriment to this Chiefs team moving forward, because we've known Andy Reid to only be a positive influence on this franchise. If he eventually gets to the point of his career where he's like, no, I'm just not budging and I'm not going to evolve, and it starts to cost the Chiefs multiple seasons at a time, that's my biggest fear. Is Andy Reid being the reason that the Chiefs start losing in a way that they have not been accustomed to over the last 7-8 years. So that's my biggest fear. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, bro. I mean, what happened last year just cannot be repeated. Any semblance of what happened last year can't be. And it's a lot of pressure on EB too, right? To perform and come in here, and especially after the season we had. So if they're trusting him to come in, we as fans should be trusting that he's going to come in and bring the changes necessary to not let what happened last season happen.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm choosing to be optimistic here, even with the decision made that I don't like. But yeah, man, that's a lot of things up in the air, bro. What we can be expected, because I don't know what to expect as the season starts. We don't know if Pat doesn't play for the first few weeks of the season. That's a big wet blanket on just to get, that's just added that much more added pressure on everybody.
Right.
Player, coach, everybody. So you don't have Patrick Mahomes to start the season. That would be tough. But if you do have him, that takes some pressure off. But still, it's still a lot of pressure on EB, because if shit's going south the first month of football, people are going to start. There's going to be an uproar, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we'll be feeding those flames.
And
probably.
we'll be sitting here, like I said, talking about these very same things again, man. You know what I might do? I might just go live with our video of tonight again. I just might play this episode all over again.
Told you so. Yeah.
Like 1 year ago. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at with it, dude. Because I mean, and again, I don't want to be right about these things. We don't want to be right about these things. We want to be the idiots.
Oh, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I have no choice but to root for him. I'm not going to root against him. I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right here.
Right.
I'd rather be wrong and feel good about this team.
Exactly.
But I don't feel good about it right now. I don't like this at all. So, yeah.
All right, well, I mean, we don't have a lot of questions. You guys have been hanging tough, man, and chiming in a ton. Like I said, we answered a few questions at the beginning anyway, so that's totally cool with me. We appreciate anyone that wants to chime in whenever the show is going on. Like we say, go to YouTube, hit us up on the Spoken Podcast, hit subscribe, like, share, comment, all that stuff. And comment is the one that I want to emphasize the most, because that is what we want you guys to, we want you guys to be a part of the show, straight up. We don't want just Trevor and I just talking the whole damn time, or primarily me, because I'm the one that talks all the damn time. I want to hear from you guys as well. So we, community-driven show, talking with you, not talking at you. So hang out with us, guys. And like I said, you might as well do it on YouTube. We're trying to grow it over there. We've seen substantial growth over the last couple of months. We appreciate that, but we're nowhere near where we want to be. So tell your friends about us, guys. Let them know about our YouTube show every single Friday night at 6:30, and have them join in and chime in. We've got people from literally all over the globe watching the show and chiming in. Man, we've had people from Kenya, Ireland, our guy Brad Simcox over there, Brit Chief. Yep. He watches in, he tunes in. We got people all over the nation doing it as well. We appreciate all you guys equally, man. So we appreciate it in advance for you letting the people know to join us, or we'll come find you. So, Trevor, with that said, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly L's or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who's ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
All right, so I'm a big take integrity kind of guy, right? I think you should always be kind of 10 toes down on your takes, whether you're right or wrong. But I don't like and I don't respect people that have take vulnerability, where they're trying to have a take, or they have a take and it's kind of a hot one, or it's a very critical one of a certain player, and then you reel it back in, and then you cower to the criticism that you got because of said take. I don't respect that at all. And a guy who does that and has done it before and did it particularly this past week in Dan Orlovsky when it comes to a specific quarterback in this league who might have played about as bad as you possibly can in C.J. Stroud in 2 straight games in the postseason. Managed to get away with a win in one of those performances, but it ended up catching up to him when he finally faced a better foe this time around. Dan originally was correct in his take, and I agree with him, but him now reeling back and backpedaling, and I got my opinions to why that is. That's neither here nor there, but I'm gonna play a video with him. This is him basically retracting and retaking, basically apologizing on live TV about a take that he had about a quarterback. I'm gonna let you guys hear this for yourselves.
Houston wins that game with 31 quarterbacks. I want to publicly apologize to C.J. Stroud. I crossed the line. I don't ever want to do that in this ride. When I started 8 years ago, I was making the commitment, never go on TV and say, well, they won because the quarterback played good, or they lost because the quarterback played bad. So I've been called out on it. Accountability, full stop, shouldn't have done it. And there's ways for me to say that in regards to C.J. Stroud did the one thing he couldn't do, and that's why they lose the game. I don't want to take away from New England's defense as well. So full stop, that wasn't cool of me, and that was wrong of me. Different way for me to communicate that. On to New England right.
So they're celebrating right now, huh, Joe?
Yeah, anyway.
That's his crowd afterwards. Good job, Danny!
Freaking Twitter, yeah. Yeah, congratulations. Coward. That's cowardice, bro. He said that there was 31 other quarterbacks that could have won that game, and I believe that is correct.
He is correct.
I believe one of those quarterbacks, you don't have to name as a starter. I think the guy that's sitting on his bench watching him play that terrible could have won that game. And Davis Mills. C.J. Stroud, the downfall of C.J. Stroud is we've all been witnesses of it.
Yeah.
He is not what we thought he was. He's had one really good year his rookie year because there was zero tape on him, and he was just playing loose and free because there was no expectations. After that, he's shit the bed every season.
Yep.
He's been awful. Granted, he's had bad O-lines. I get it. The coaching hasn't been the best for him, but now he's got a legitimately really good coach who's consistently just taking deep breaths and sighs in the sideline every time he touches the goddamn ball. C.J. Stroud, that was maybe the worst performance I've seen from a quarterback in a single postseason.
I agree.
It was abysmal. It was terrible. What a waste of a defense. Like you said, that's the best unit in football, and I agree. As good as the Rams' offense has been, as good as Seattle's offense has been,
special,
and their defense has been.
It was special.
That is a Super Bowl-worthy defense.
Yes.
And they had every reason to be in the Super Bowl, or at least in the AFC Championship game, competing for that spot. And I didn't believe him because my argument was always C.J. Stroud. That's why I had the Steelers beating them, but the Steelers just couldn't move the ball. So that's the only reason the Steelers lost that game, because they just didn't have enough offensive power to move the ball against that defense. C.J. Stroud could have turned the ball over every possession. They still probably would have won because they had a defensive touchdown, and that game got out of hand in the last 2.5 minutes. So for Dan Orlovsky to reel that back in because he was getting criticized on social media and he couldn't take the pressure of his take. Granted, it was a righteous and accurate take. I think if you put any other quarterback in this league that was a starter on that team, they win that game. And that's me supporting the Patriots, and I had picked the Patriots. If any other quarterback would have been the starter for that Texans team, I would have maybe thought about picking the Texans. But I saw enough out of C.J. Stroud these last couple of years to know that he's just not him. Straight up.
He not him.
There's they can't pay him. And that's not even the point of this L. But my L is going to Dan Orlovsky because he just lacks integrity in his takes. This isn't the first time he's done stuff like this. Right? And that's what sucks about being on like prime television like that. These guys just flip-flop like crazy because they can't deal with the pressure. And a lot of these guys just can't stand on 10. This is who Dan is. It's unfortunate. Maybe he should have I don't know if he led them in a prayer afterwards, but maybe he should have done that to maybe pray for his takes to be able to be, integral enough and strong enough to where he can stand on 10 on them. But he continues to retract his shit. So for that, Dan Orlovsky, do me a solid favor and hold this L.
Real quick, before I give mine, our guy Micah Hayes did have a question. I don't know if we missed it or not. He goes, you all see my question about the backup running back at Notre Dame? I'm assuming he's talking about Jadarian Price. Would I want Jadarian Price in the second round? God, yes. I don't know if anybody's watched any film on Jadarian Price because I have been watching some running backs that are guys that I think are realistic. I had mentioned with Farzine, the Singleton out of Penn State. I think my guy John Harrison was the one that kind of sent me that for homework. Jadarian Price is a guy that I would very, very much welcome. He's right under 6 foot. He weighs over 200 pounds, which automatically is a yes for me. Running backs that are like 5'11" to 6 foot are always the guys I look forward to. Over 200 pounds, obviously, the good size to him. He's added a lot of muscle over the last year or so. He kind of had a narrow frame initially, but he's really packed on some weight. He had some early injury concerns, which is something you got to pay attention to. He tore his Achilles in his rookie year, even before I think it started. I think it was like in the camps before the season even began. But since then, dude, he's rushed, if I'm not mistaken, for almost 5,000 yards. He's also, I think he caught like 64 passes. Like, this is a dude, I was looking up his numbers the other day. This is a dude that I think would fit this offense perfectly. And is a guy that kind of goes under the radar. Because everyone's talking about like Jeremiah Love, because obviously Jeremiah Love was the starting running back. But, there's always those stories of like guys that like backed up the other dude and then ended up becoming the star. That's what I think could happen with Jadarian Price. So to answer your question, Micah, fuck yes. If they can get him in the second round, pull the damn trigger.
Yeah, we got to draft a running back in this draft.
Yes, and if they get, the price would be right. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, sign me up for Jadarian Price. That's a great question. That's a guy that I would absolutely have on my board for what that's worth because I don't know shit. But I think that would be a dude that, yes, if they got him, That would be an upgrade. That's a talent. That's a dude that I believe in. I would very much welcome that. I apologize for not getting your question earlier, but dude, it's
my bad.
No, it's totally fine. I'm just glad we got to it before because I just happened to be looking down. I saw Micah drop that in there. So hopefully that answers your question, Micah. Stamp of approval on this end for sure. We'll see how it goes, man. So hopefully that'll happen. My L, funny enough, has a lot to do with Trevor's in a different way, though, because Dan Orlovsky made the mistake of like Trevor said, cowering to the pressure in that regard. But see, something that Dan didn't cower to was his defense or lack thereof criticism to one and only Josh Allen. But see, this doesn't just go to Dan Orlovsky. This goes to the entire national sports media, or as I like to call them, JAPAC, because they're all bought and paid for from the Josh Allen PR staff. So JAPAC has got all these guys paid for. That's a hell of a lobby, dude. You know what I mean? It is real. But there is a phenomenon going on. And my guy Nick Wright said it perfectly this week. It is fucking baffling what's going on with Josh Allen. Yeah. He literally can do no wrong.
I mean, it's baffling, but it's like so obvious.
It is.
Yeah.
And I have a clip here of after the game is lost and Josh Allen played the way that he played. This is the dialogue, and this is just a brief snippet. I had literally, Trevor, 4.5 minutes of videos I put together. I had to narrow it down just to save us time because I don't want to put you all to sleep or at least piss you guys off. So this is a small clip of the things that are being said about what, remember how that game went, what Josh Allen did, and this is what people are saying. Go ahead.
Like the Bills never made it to the Super Bowl. They lost once in the wild card round, 4 times in the divisional round, twice in the AFC Championship game. Never made it to a Super Bowl with Josh Allen. There you go. What do you always say about Josh Allen?
Best player in the world. He is. And look.
And again, yesterday, they gave up 30 points. It is unacceptable when you have the best player in the world and you can't find your way to the big one. It's just unacceptable.
I have a variety of that out of the conversation. Who's the right person, in your opinion? Look, this is about Allen. You've got Josh Allen. Shefty mentioned he's going to turn 30. Basically, he's the midway point of his career. He has demonstrated that he is as good as any quarterback that ever lived. I'm watching the game 50 years. No one's ever been better than this guy. But
when you have a team that has struggled to get to the Super Bowl with the best player in the game, and it's 9 seasons in a row, and you're going into a new stadium, they felt like it was time.
The Josh fumble right before the half.
Yeah.
Josh can't do this. Okay. He knows he can't do this. But look, watch. Buffalo's there to recover the fumble, and they don't. Their big guy doesn't get on the ball, and they don't. That's 3 points once again.
Yeah. Fucking brutal, wasn't it? Best player in the world, best quarterback in the world. God, his team just did him wrong. If only that offensive lineman would have got that ball. I mean, he's there. You know? Trevor, real quick, can we put that picture up real quick of what Josh Allen did in that game? Just real fast. I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time on. Oh, would you fucking look at that? The Broncos scored 16 points off of the turnovers. They won the game by 3.
Half of their points were scored off their turnovers.
They kept saying, well, the Broncos scored 30 points. You can't blame Josh Allen for that. Yes, I can. Furthermore, Josh Allen's turnover that they showed in that clip of him fumbling, I don't even know what the hell he was thinking on that play, wobbling the ball around like a magic wand. That play put the Broncos in field goal position, which they scored a field goal. Trevor, real quick, how much are a field goals worth?
Oh, 3 points.
How much did they win by?
3 points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Josh Allen lost them the game. He lost them the game. I know everyone wants to hear, everybody talking about, oh, well, that catch was a catch, and that. No, yeah, you're right. The defender caught it because the play wasn't finished. The Brandon Cooks didn't finish through the ground, so it wasn't an incompletion because it never hit the ground. So who ended up with the ball? Daquan Williams?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so it's an interception. Do not let anyone deflect from the truth. I know JPAC's a real thing. JPAC's a real thing. This doesn't take away from the fact that Josh Allen lost his team that game. And 16 points of their 33 were scored off of 5 turnovers, and 4 of them were from Josh Allen.
That's not good. That is not good.
Furthermore, we now have a substantial amount of evidence from Josh Allen. A lot of people are getting L's, by the way, Trevor. It's not just ESPN and JA Pack. It's JA himself.
Let's take them when they're down. I'm good.
Let's
I'm good
do
with
it.
This. Yeah, I'm good with
Josh Allen is now 0-7 in overtime games. But not only that, in those 7 overtimes, do you know how many points his offense has put up? 3. That's as many Super Bowls as Patrick Mahomes has. Also, in his career in overtime, he's 11 of 26, which is 43 completion percentage.
Shit.
Has 85 total passing yards, 3 yards per attempt, a touchdown to interception ratio of 0-2, with a quarterback rating of 18.9. Don't ever compare this dude to my quarterback again. I feel like I say that every damn year, and now I'm saying it again. Do not compare this dude to my quarterback again. Best quarterback, my ass. Every single one of you morons that say that shit, and Josh Allen yourself, do me a solid and hold this L, because there's some bullshit up in here. Appreciate you guys.
Reigning MVP.
What a fucking show this has been, dude. Great show. Right at like 9 o'clock-ish, you know, like got some solid couple hours in. Our guest, Farzine, was fucking awesome. You guys were fucking awesome. This whole show was just great. I appreciate all you guys so much, man, for being here with us. Please, if you guys could, just one more time, go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, but also get in the comments, man. We'd very much appreciate it if you guys chime in, give us your thoughts. We really want to hear from you guys, man. So make sure and drop us a line. Let us know what you guys think of the show as a whole. You know, critique us, whatever you guys got to say. Totally cool, totally fair. We'll give you a fuck you. I'm just kidding. We won't do that. But we'll definitely say we appreciate you guys at least taking the time out of your schedules to come hang out with us. We know you guys could be doing anything else on a Friday night. For you guys to decide to hang out with us really does mean a lot to us. So I really do appreciate you guys. But in the meantime, for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of things at Red Tribe Cinema, I'm Lance Twidwell. Episode 344 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we are back here in 1 week's time to talk about a Super Bowl matchup in a couple of weeks, we out of this bitch.
Later.